Hey everyone, bored now. I am joined here by Madison Estes today. Hey
Hello.
Madison,
Hi,
welcome.
thank you for having me on the channel.
No problem. So it is the end of year and we all like to make lists at the end of the year. So today me and Madison are looking back over the previous 12 months, particularly in horror movies. So we've both got our favourite horror movie lists, top fives. We've also got some disappointments, some worst horror movies, and a few other random movies that we've also enjoyed this year. And then some TV, some of our best TV, some of our least favourites or disappointments. So we've gone across the board. So hopefully we're going to give you guys some good recommendations today. Both agree it's been a good year for horror, right? I
Oh,
would say.
absolutely. This year and last year were both really good films for horror and thrillers, and it looks like next year's going to be pretty good too. But I definitely think we've just had two exceptionally good years in a row.
What I noticed this year, which was funny, is because normally you have a lot of trash in like
Mm-hmm.
January, February before the year really gets going and you start
Mm-hmm.
having better horror. I don't think we really had that this year. Like, I didn't really
Mm-hmm.
notice. There's definitely horror movies I didn't like, and there was definitely bad horror movies, but we didn't have that normal kind of January sort of dump where it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, this is the stuff we don't want to pull out later in the year. This is
Yeah.
stuff isn't that important.
Yeah, and I've already noticed because I've already started working on most anticipated. Most of the films I'm really looking forward to, at least the ones that have been announced, are in like the first 4 months. I'm like, wow, that's
Yeah, that's
that's amazing.
surprising. Yeah.
Especially January. We've got like Silent Hill, Get Help, We Bury the Dead. There's a lot of them. Just like, I guess January's the new October, maybe. I don't
Yeah.
know. But it's
Yeah.
exciting. It's exciting that you just all year long you can look forward to some good horror releases instead of them just putting everything in September and October. So number 5 for me was Bring Her Back. I really enjoyed this film. It is about two foster kids that ends up in the foster care of someone that has ulterior motives for taking the kids in. And there's a lot of really good body horror in this. There's a little boy that gets possessed who goes around like eating all these inanimate objects, and that's where a lot of the horror comes in. And just when you think you're desensitized, they escalate it and it's more disturbing. And then there's other things like there's an image of a dead child and a lot of other just like really disturbing imagery in this, but it also has a really good plot too, I think. My only criticism is that it meanders a little bit in the middle because it's a little bit slow at one point because you're just kind of waiting for the plot to develop. But yeah, I thought it was definitely one of the best ones that came out this year, and I highly recommend it. It's a really good grief horror film.
Yeah, that's a great pick, a great choice to start us up. So I won't give anything away because that could be in my list as well.
Mm-hmm.
So my number five, I've gone for a bit of a wild card pick with my number five because I was dodging between a few, but I've gone for Dangerous Animals, which
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
which is a shark movie with Drive Courtney of all people,
Mm-hmm.
who's this guy who people know for being in one of the really generic Terminator sequels. And it was a long time ago they tried to make him a big action star in Hollywood, and it really didn't work out. But this is sort of a twist on the shark movie, really, and
Okay.
he's the villain. He's the one who's
Oh.
like kind of kidnapping these women and kind of using them for bait. And you
Mm-hmm.
follow one particular woman who turns out to be the final girl, her and her boyfriend, who also gets put into danger. But there's all sorts of games that he plays, and things like he fattens them up and he films the whole thing, and it's all, I mean, it's kind of sinister, but it's kind of done in a very B movie way, so it's never
Mm-hmm.
taken that seriously. But yeah, it's a really well done shark movie. It's quite a different kind of shark movie. You've got really like charismatic characters, like Jai Courtney is a charismatic villain. The final girl I liked also. She had quite a lot to her. yeah, it's quite tense. It's quite darkly funny. Definitely keeps you guessing towards the end about what's going to happen. Like, is she going to survive? What's going to happen to the villain? So I think I've included it just because you don't get that many good shark movies anymore. So it seems like the formula had sort of run dry, really. So I think it is worth sort of like celebrating when you do get a good one. So
Yeah.
this was a nice surprise for me. It's an Australian movie, and I thought it was really good.
I think I've heard of that one. I didn't know it was a shark horror movie, so I'll have to keep an eye out for that. I just heard the title, but I didn't know it was horror, so yeah, I'll have to see that.
Yeah, it's a good one. Okay, so your number 4 then.
My number 4 pick is Until Dawn. This is a film about a group of friends that go on a road trip because one of the people in the group, her sister went missing and she tried to kill herself. Not the sister, the girl in the group. And so they're trying to be supportive and help her. And while they're on the road trip, they find a place where her sister might have gone to. So they follow the trail. And then they end up stuck in a time loop when they arrive at this house, and all of them die. Spoiler, but not really, because when the time loop resets, they all come back to life, and they all remember what happened, and they're freaking out, like, oh my god, did we all just die? What happened? And it's such a interesting scene to see how they all respond to that, because a lot of times in time loops, it's like one character remembers, kind of like Happy Death Day or Final Girls or something like that. Like one character knows and then everybody else is oblivious. But in this case, they all know. So that's really interesting to see the formula change in that way. And then it's also just got a really great atmosphere. It reminds me quite a bit of Silent Hill. Every time the time loop starts again, there's like new monsters that come up. At one point, like a house just randomly appears across the street that wasn't there before. So it's just really eerie and unpredictable. But it also has a lot of comedy in it as well. There's like a scene where they drink the water and just start like bursting like water balloons. And, some of their reactions to their friends dying are pretty funny too. So it has a really good balance of comedy and horror, but it still manages to be truly scary and chilling as well. So highly recommend it. It doesn't have a lot to do with the video game. I know some people were disappointed in that regard. And then some people pointed out how crazy it is that they use they use time loops and the idea of like basically having multiple lives, but the game itself, when people die, you don't get the chance to bring them back. It's like one of those games. So it was a weird decision to take that game and then add, the multiple lives aspect to it. But I still think it was a good film. I think people might enjoy it more if they haven't played the game, but I think it's still a really good film if you go into it with an open mind. And yeah, I love time loop movies too, so that's part of it. I love that trope, so I think it was done well here.
Oh, great. Yeah, I haven't seen this one, and I know, yeah, you're one of the rare people, I think, who has liked it, so that's good. I like you standing up for it, and it's interesting as well. You say the changes that they make are good. My number 4, which I guess technically is more of a sci-fi, but it definitely has horror elements, and that is Companion. That's my number 4. So this was very early in the year. This was in February. We talked a lot about the marketing, it towards the Valentine's crowd from the same studio as The Notebook. It said in the trailer. And yeah, you know what? I mean, I think by now a lot of people know where it goes, at least what the premise is. But and just in case they don't, I probably won't say much. Otherwise to say that a new girlfriend goes away for the weekend with her new boyfriend. So she's Sophie Thatcher. He's Jack Quaid. Is it? Yeah. I don't remember which Quaid it was. Yeah, Jack Quaid. So they go away to this fancy sort of retreat, meeting his friends for the first time, and there's a sci-fi twist in the tale, and it goes into all sorts of modern technology and issues, and it's like satirical about that kind of theme and subject. And yeah, I mean, I can't really say much more about the actual plot because I'm sort of not giving it away, but like Sophie Thatcher is great. She's obviously had a breakout through this. She plays this part really well when you see what it is, like her reactions to everything. That makes a lot of sense. And Jack Craig, I think, is very good in this kind of role. You've got some nice supporting characters. And yeah, I think it works because it's a really intense film, which works as a survival type horror, which is very edge of your seat. There's lots of like twists and turns, which I did enjoy. Because that's the thing as well. Even when you learn what the reveal is, which is early in the movie anyway, there's other twists after that and other reveals. And I like that. I like the way the film played with that stuff. And a very modern sort of movie. Some good black humor in it. Some good performances. Yeah, some good set pieces. So it was, yeah, I thought a bit of a standout, and it's a shame that it's gone a little bit under the radar, or maybe some people haven't talked about it as much as they maybe should have done. But yeah, Companion, I was very impressed with. I think my only doubt is I've only seen it once, so I would be, is it going to hold up on a rewatch? But I was definitely impressed first time around.
Yeah, I was really impressed, and I was so glad I went and saw it in the theater as well. It was a good theater experience, and I did rewatch it with my mom, and I can confirm it's a good rewatch. I really enjoyed it just as much the second time.
That's great.
And the black comedy is great, and I don't really have much else to say. You really nailed it. I also think it's a really good commentary on relationships. That's the only thing I think I would add to that is I really like the commentary. Yeah, and I mean, and I agree. It definitely feels like it's a little bit under the radar for how good it is. And that could have something to do with it being an early release. Maybe people have just kind of forgotten about it by now. And then part of me, when I was doing my list, I was like, man, was that really this year? It's so far away. It's been such a long year. But yeah, it's fantastic. And I definitely think it made sense to release it in February. So I understand why they did that. And I think that was a good decision. Yeah, it was really good. It's on my list too, a little higher. So
that's good. We both endorse it then. I have seen some mixed reviews about it. I think I've definitely seen people who aren't so keen on it. So yeah, there you go. Each to their own. Okay, so your next one.
My next one is, we're on 3, right? Yes.
Yeah.
No Tears in Hell. This is a true crime horror film about the Siberian Ripper, who's a nasty, nasty serial killer.
He sounds it, yeah.
Yeah, in the film, he murders a bunch of women, teenage girls, and cannibalizes them with his mother. The mom creeps me out just as much as him, maybe even more, because she helps cook some of the dead bodies and helps him clean up the crime scenes. And you see scenes of when he's younger, and she's kind of grooming him into being a killer and encouraging it. But then other times she seems horrified of him, and I wonder what the decision was behind kind of creating that dynamic. But it was interesting for sure. All the scenes between them were so interesting. And one thing I thought was interesting is they held back a little bit, and I started thinking about it. I wonder if that was because of the MPAA rating, if they were trying to not make it so horrific that it wouldn't get an R rating. But the real killer actually murdered a lot of children too. And that was one thing they didn't put in the film. And maybe that was a good call, because it's already a very violent and gory, disturbing film. There's limbs that get cut off, and there's lots and lots of cannibalism in the movie. The opening scene's also pretty surprising as well. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think this is one that gets slept on or has been slept on. Um, Even I just randomly kind of came across it. I hadn't heard anything about it, and I was just like, yeah, it's a cool title, sounds interesting. And I was really impressed, and it stayed in my mind long after the film was over. And that's kind of when I did the research and found out he's also a child killer. And yeah, it's a really interesting story. I definitely think anyone that likes true crime is going to be really interested in this film.
Oh wow. Yeah, no, I'd not even heard of it, so
Mm-hmm.
it's possible it hasn't reached the UK yet.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a streaming film, or did it go into cinemas, or
It's streaming.
streaming?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, okay, I'll look out for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've not heard of that one. Number 3, so a film you've already had. It is Bring Her Back.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, so I know this is from the same group of directors as Talk to Me a few
Mm-hmm.
years ago, and that was a pretty standout movie that year. So I was keen to see what they came up with next, I should say. And one thing they do, I think, which they did in their previous movie, is they do trauma very well, and they do kind of modern mental health very well, and work that into a horror sort of premise as well. And that's something they do again here. And yeah, it's a very intense movie from the start. It's a very dark movie. You've got really sympathetic lead characters, like the two kids. They feel like natural sort of siblings that you really
Mm-hmm.
care about going through this thing. And there's something about horror and like the history of horror where you have kids who are vulnerable and a little bit naive, who are being entrusted to someone who they probably can't trust to be a good parental figure, but like
Uh-huh.
this foster woman who they get left with, played by Sally Hawkins, is sort of all they have in some ways. And yeah, she starts acting weird early on and starts doing random awkward things. And I think a lot of times, like if it was adults in this sort of movie, you would think, well, why don't you read the red flags? But you don't say that because of it being kids and
Yeah.
the situation they're in. And the fact then that the girl is also blind as well, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
leads to more natural horror and more like, well, we're already sympathetic, but you're even
Yeah.
more sympathetic. And this movie gets very dark, intense. Like it really is quite nihilistic and goes
Mm-hmm.
places. And there's a lot of rain as well. It's like the most amount of rain I think I've ever seen in any movie this year. But
Yeah.
yeah, but Sally Hawkins is a great villain as well. Like,
Mm-hmm.
she's a great actress, but I think again in the frame of maybe the Hugh Grant villain from last year, very strong in the movie. She's very sinister, and can you trust her? But like, yeah, there's lots of twists and turns that keep you guessing. But
Mm-hmm.
it's I was into this one pretty much all the way through. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
really gripped up to the end, and it's impressive that they already did such a great horror movie with their first movie, and they followed it up with something which is probably equally as good, if not a little bit better.
Yeah, I liked this one more than Talk to Me, which I didn't like it when it first came out. Talk to Me. Rewatching it, I appreciated it a little bit more. I had to
Mm-hmm.
suspend my disbelief about a couple things, but I did like it more. But this one, I just feel like, even though I said it meandered a little bit in the middle, and I still feel like it did. And maybe it was just the Billy Goat Demon. That's what I called him in my
Mm-hmm.
best of video. Maybe that could have just had a few less scenes with him. Maybe that was what it was. But I do
Yeah.
feel like it was strong throughout. Like I was invested in the characters throughout. I I didn't have as many like eye roll moments like I did with Talk to Me, where I was like,
Okay.
stupid teenagers, stupid teenagers. I know teenagers are dumb, but I liked the ones in this film more. They
Mm-hmm.
felt more real and grounded to me. And yeah, I
Okay.
was invested throughout. So yeah, this one to me was a lot better than Talk to Me. So, but yeah, I agree. They do grief horror really well.
Yeah. Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. I still need to rewatch Talk to Me, so I've only seen it once.
Number 2 was Companion. And we've already talked about it. Man, I love this film so much. For when I first saw it walking out of the theater, I was like, I don't know how anything's gonna top this year. And like, it's so close with my number 1. There's, it's just an exceptionally good film that unfortunately was a little bit under the radar because of when it came out, I think. But oh, it's so good, you guys. Definitely check it out. It's especially if you like psychological horror or horror that has any kind of subtext, sci-fi horror, all of those things, I think is a really good time with this film. So, Companions, my number 2.
My number 2 is Sinners. It's sort of a Western vampire movie set in the Mid-South in like the 30s, 40s. And it surrounds racial segregation. But it's also about these two brothers, both played by Michael B. Jordan. He does a great job playing both of them. And they come back into town having spent years in Chicago during the war. And they got involved in like gangs and crime there. So that's why they're back in town, because they pissed off the wrong people in Chicago. So they've come back to town. And they've decided to start up their own nightclub with money from the gangs, essentially. And that's where you start getting the vampire plot, because this group of Irish vampires come into town. They're nervous to let anybody who isn't African American into their club. So there's a whole back and forth with the Irish vampires where they're trying to find ways to talk themselves into the club or talk their way into the club. There is one character who appears to be white, who's played by Haley Steinfeld, but she's actually what they call passing. So she's secretly African American race, but she's passing as white, and she's an old girlfriend of one of the brothers, and she's in the club and has quite a big part in the film. So yeah, it's doing that classic thing of like using politics and race, and there's themes of immigration, themes of like capitalism, but using them all for like a horror type metaphor. So the metaphors of like the real world work along, or the real world stuff, if you like, work alongside the horror stuff and the metaphors very well. So it's really impressive. It's a fresh take on the vampire movie. It's very well cast. It's very stylish. One thing I liked about it is it takes its time with the characters. Like you get a good amount of time at the start of the movie getting to know them. And like some movies you think, well, this is dragging too much, but I don't think with this one. I think it paid off, and it set up the stakes for later on with these characters. And yeah, no, it's just a really gripping movie all the way through. It's very stylish. It does a great job in celebrating music, like cultural music, and the importance of music, and how, again, getting into some of the history of how like this kind of music was associated with the devil, and kind of how music can be a form of rebellion, I guess, as well. Some people have compared it to Dusk to Dawn. That's a complaint I've heard a lot. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I think it's fine. It's fine that they did something similar with kind of springing vampires in the middle of the film. It's just whenever everybody was like, oh, it's such a surprising, it's such a great plot twist. It's so shocking. And then I saw it and I was like, oh, it's okay.
Well, yeah, but I don't think it is a plot twist. I think most people going into the movie know it's a vampire movie. I don't think they tried to hide that. Like, I mean, okay, I can see how it happens reasonably in the middle, so maybe, but I don't think they ever tried to hide that. Like, I think it was always billed as like a horror movie.
I think I'd heard about it too, so that made it like twice as disappointing, because it's like, you're right, they did kind of mention it was a vampire film, kind of like Companion. They keep spoiling everything in the marketing. But then people said there was a twist, and then I watched it, and I was like, oh, vampires, that's the big twist. I mean, unless there was another twist.
Not every movie has to have a twist.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, as I said, I just think it was a fresh take on things. And, I think doing it from this perspective, I think that's what made it quite original. And they definitely came up with some new mythology and lore for vampires. Like, I think the thing with From Dusk to Dawn is I think it just happened to have some of the same plot beats.
Yeah.
They're vastly different movies. I mean, From Dusk to Dawn isn't doing anything with race. So, I mean, no, I think, and it's probably what you and I have said a little bit as well, then really at this point, I think all the original ideas are done. So, have been done. So I think all you can do now is put little twists on, like, an older idea.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and I liked Sinners. I did not put it on my top 5. Sorry if anyone's disappointed that's watching, but yeah, I just I enjoyed it. I think maybe I had different expectations going into it. People hyping it up as being really scary. I didn't feel like it was scary at all. People hyping it up as being, having plot twists and all this other stuff. And I watched it and I was like, this is a vastly different film than what I expected. And that has to, I can't deny that has to play a part in my overall impression of the film. I did like the first third of it, I think, more than the rest of it, because I was like, oh, this is gonna, the set pieces were fantastic, the costumes, all of that. I definitely understand why it's getting like award recognition. People are talking about maybe being Best Picture nominated and things like that. I definitely understand that because it feels like that kind of film. And that was the part I enjoyed, actually, was like the character development and the kind of when it was more of a grounded film. And then, the part when the vampire showed up, just,
not so good.
it was okay. It was okay. Like I said, I think I just expected more based on all the hype. And that's also the difference between some people, I think, that see it earlier or that see it much later after a few of the critics have come in. I saw it right whenever everybody was hyping it up, and I think that made a difference too. But I'll definitely rewatch it at some point. When now that I know more about what to expect, I think I might enjoy it more. But it was still good, though. I can't deny there's a lot of really great things about that film, and the acting was really good too. So I got to give it props for that.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, that's fair enough. It's always good to have alternative points of view, and yeah.
I know it's such a hot take. Like everybody loves that movie, and I just feel I can feel the animosity. No, I'm just kidding. But I know that's probably my hottest take is that Sinners was just
a vampire.
Maybe, it might also just be personal opinion, and also what I look for in horror films. I definitely appreciate good subtext and having a theme and all of that, but I don't think that that's everything.
So by the sounds of it, and I might be wrong here, but by the sounds of it, would you have just preferred it if it wasn't a vampire movie at all? It sounds like you
probably
were enjoying the other stuff, and then that kind of ruined it, maybe.
I think so. And also, like I said, I feel like it got hyped up as being a lot more horror than it really was. I kind of had a similar experience with Get Out too, but I still liked Get Out because it was funny and it was. Nobody said it was super scary. They just said it was good. So I went into it not really knowing what to expect, and I thought there'd be a little more horror, but it was still an enjoyable experience. Film's deeper than I thought, but this one, I'm like, I think I picked up on all of the subtext and stuff, and I'm still just like,
okay.
Like I said, it was okay.
Well, what I was going to say is I think at least you're coming up with legit complaints. Like, it's not like, because I sensed as soon as it came out, there were people on the internet who, because everyone else loved it, they chose to be contrary just for the sake of it. Like it felt more like trolling to me with some of them, because I think it's very fashionable to knock something which everybody's loving.
Yeah.
I guess us as Stranger Things fans, we probably all have that with Stranger Things, because you're always going to get some people who are like, this show isn't that good. Why are people making such a fuss out of it? And some of that's going to be legit, like as long as you've got legit complaints. But I guess it's part of the internet age. I sense that people sometimes will just knock something just for the sake of it, just because everybody else is loving it.
Yeah. I try not to do that, but it happens sometimes.
So what is your number one?
My number one for the year is The Long Walk. I had been looking forward to this movie for so long. I read the book when I was like in high school or college, and I was just blown away by the book and was like, this would make such an amazing film. Even then I knew it. And whenever I saw the trailer, because I hadn't even heard it being announced or anything, I saw the trailer, I was just like, this is exactly what I imagined. Like, even the grayscale kind of color scheme they used was exactly, it's like they just ripped it out of my mind. And it so rarely happens that I enjoy a book adaptation this much. And all of the changes that they made, I felt like made sense. It's one of those situations where there wasn't anything they changed that I was just like, oh, they should have kept it to the book. Why did they do that? Like, everything they changed, I completely understand why they did it, especially the ending, because the book ending I don't think would have worked on screen, but I think that the ending they have worked really well. Everyone I know that's seen it loves the ending and thinks that it worked well. I didn't even mention what the story is about. Sorry. The Long Walk is a competition where a bunch of boys that are 18 from around the country are put into a competition where they have to walk. And whenever you slow down too much, you go under 3 miles per hour, you get a warning. After 3 warnings, you get shot. And whoever the last person is wins. They get to live. They get a wish granted, anything that they want, and they get like a crap load of money. So that's kind of why they're all competing. Although throughout the film, they all kind of talk about their reasons for entering the competition. And some of it's financial. Some people have other motivations. Some people don't even know why they signed up, other than that's just what you do. And the entire film is a metaphor for war. The book was about the Vietnam War. This one, even though I definitely feel like there are some things that allude to the Vietnam War, particularly the draft being very similar to the lottery that the boys enter, I think it can kind of apply to most wars. And it's a really good horror / war film, in my opinion. And also, I think that the highly patriotic fascist government that's in this film feels a lot more realistic than it should compared to, especially this year, compared to a lot of recent events. It feels very believable in a way that is very scary. Other than like the existential dread that the boys are experiencing, I think that is where a lot of the horror comes in. It's just like, oh God, I could see this. I could see this being the future. It's very, very creepy. And also Mark Hamill does an amazing job as the antagonist of the film, the one who's kind of in charge of the walk, and he's, you know, the one shouting at the boys and encouraging them and, you know, telling them that they're, you know, such an inspiration for the country and their sacrifice is being acknowledged by the country. Basically all of this very patriotic spin that is put on the senseless murder of young men, which, you know, if that's not a good description of war, I don't know what is. And yeah, there were several parts that it has also a good balance of just like bone chilling scenes that are very tense and scary, as, you know, someone's getting their 3rd warning and you know what's going to happen. And there's also a lot of just really heart wrenching moments too, as these boys, you know, develop friendships and, you know, inevitably that it's going to end. So fantastic film. Definitely my favorite. Companion was close, but this one I just feel like was just next level in terms of being such a good horror film and a good drama. And yeah, I just love this film. That was my number one.
No, great choice, and there's something a little bit comparable, really, because we said Companion went a bit under the radar, and I think this one did, sadly. Probably for different reasons. I mean,
Yeah.
but again, maybe in their own ways, they were both difficult to market. I think this was quite difficult to market, but it has gone down well with a lot of like fans of the book, and I think my hope is that it would have a greater life on streaming and a sort of a word of mouth type thing. So, yeah. Okay, well, no surprise because I haven't mentioned it yet, but that's my number one as well because I absolutely loved it.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I was glad I took a chance of it in cinemas. Like I just caught it before it left cinemas, so I was really happy. Because we live in an age where I think you do get a lot more selective about what you see on the big screen, and it's a lot more of, well, that can probably wait till streaming. But this was one which was definitely worth seeing in the cinema. And it's a great example of the premise being really simple, but then just gripping you all the way through. I think sometimes the most simple premises are the best. And that way you just follow the characters and their journey, and they cast the film so well because really the only people you would say were stars in it are like Mark Hamill and Judy Greer, and the rest are virtually fresh-faced unknown, which works for it. And yeah, going in, because I haven't read the book, so I didn't know much about it. And your question is, well, they're just literally walking for like the whole movie pretty much and talking to each other, interactions, and the horror slowly builds. But how are they going to make this sustainable for like a whole movie? And they absolutely do. Like, it was just amazing how I was pulled along by the emotional journeys and the stories, and I really got into the character drama and the tension of the whole thing. You had little moments of levity, just the light, and it sort of showed the bond and the camaraderie which is going to build up over time. Where it's the only thing these boys have got. They've got to stick together and they've got to work together, and because they know that realistically most of them are going to die by the end. It's that thing of, we're going to be there for each other, we're going to support each other, we're going to tell each other stories. But no, it didn't really hold back at all. It was much more bleak and nihilistic, and like you described the themes of the movie, and that's the thing. The themes of the movie are just as relevant today as they were back then when the story was written, like maybe even more so. So it says something then. It just holds up all these years later. And I think for you, because you've obviously read the book, then the film's going to get even more points for being a great adaptation. Great, very faithful, but maybe change one or two things where it needed to. Like you said, the ending maybe works better on the film ending, than it would have done if they kept the book ending. Maybe could have done without the bit of them shitting, but I guess they had to show that in a way. But
to be fair, when I was watching it, I was just like, of all the things for them to include, but it was kind of a funny moment. They gotta mix it up a little bit, and there were some funny lines that came after that too. About you gotta squeeze it off, man. And then they started talking about I'm a once a day kind of guy. Some people can go a whole week without pooping, but not me. And it was pretty funny. And I guess that's the kind of stuff that's like war banter, that's probably the kind of stuff people talk about, or soldiers talk about. So but there was a part of me that was like, I feel like there's one or two things from the book they could have maybe put instead of that, or at least not showed it,
when they showed it,
gross.
That was so gross. But
oh my gosh, I couldn't believe they got that past the censors. I was like, man, of all the things that have been censored, that they're like, no, that's fine. That's wild. But yeah, that was crazy. That was a crazy moment.
Like, really, the diversity of the characters, like,
Mm-hmm.
they all have an own
Yeah.
special story and background. And a beautiful movie, but a very sad and bleak one. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a testament, and they could make such a dark story have beautiful moments as well. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I was gripped, although, because I didn't know how the story ended, and so
Mm-hmm.
I was on the edge of my seat of which way it was going to go exactly.
What was your number one pick? I was wondering if it was going to be on your list at all, and I was like, well, people get different stuff out of different films, but I'm glad that you liked it so much, and then I'm also glad you got to see it in a theater too, because I think that I have, I think that that's the kind of film that is, I don't know, it's a good theater experience too, I think.
Yeah, no, it's very visually good.
Got to see that poop up close,
You gotta, gotta see that in IMAX. Yeah, that'll be the next thing. Those where the people who love it are gonna really love it and kind of take it to the heart. So I was glad that it kind of lived up to what you were saying and what a few other people were saying. We had a few of the same, but there was a couple of difference as well, and it's nice because sorry, what was that true crime one you had?
No Tears in Hell.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of people would have heard of that, so it's good that you're kind of flying the flag for that. Some people might go and check it out. Not everyone would have seen Dangerous Animals, so that's a different pick from me. So yeah, a couple which people might not have seen and want to check out. So for horror, do you have any honorable mentions?
I'll go over them quick. I think Final Destination Bloodlines was a really good honorable mention. The plot is, they did some things that are different with the formula. For those of you that live under a rock, the series is about somebody has a vision. They manage to avoid dying and usually save a couple people, and then death comes after them. And this one's similar, but like they changed a couple things. The opening sequence was so intense. That's my favorite part of the film. So that was really enjoyable. I enjoyed that from beginning to end. Together, which is about a couple that's going through relationship problems, played by real life couple Allison Brie and Dave Franco. And they start physically sticking together when they touch each other. And it's such a weird film. It's out there. It's got a lot of comedic moments as well, but like some of the scenes where they're sticking together is just really disturbing. And that was a good one. And The Home, which is, it got a lot of bad reviews. I thought it was fun. It has a really good opening. It stars Pete Davidson. He aged out of foster care. He gets in trouble with the police for doing some environmental graffiti. And he ends up having to do community service at a nursing home. And, there's a conspiracy going on. He has to uncover it. It does kind of go off on some weird tangents in the middle of the film, but the ending is so fun. That's like my favorite ending of the year, just in terms of just like feel good, crazy ending. Pete Davidson brings a wonderful like maniac American Psycho energy to the ending of the film. Super fun. My suggestion, if you get bored in the middle, just fast forward to like the last 5 minutes, because it's a fun bloodbath. And yeah, those are my kind of honorable mentions, ones that I would definitely check out.
For honorable mention, I would probably have Final Destination Bloodlines as well. Like, I don't think I enjoyed it as much as some people. Like, I thought in bits it was a bit too try hard. Like, there were certain things with the plot I didn't really like, but it was fun. Like, it's a very reliable format, and they did put one or two twists on it. Because the lead character I wasn't that into. Like, I thought she was taking herself a bit too seriously and that kind of thing. But there were fun characters in the supporting role. The Tony Todd scene was beautiful. That was amazing, and he got to make his words his own essentially, and it was so close to him sadly passing. So that was really poignant. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure when I rewatch it, I might get into it more. Like, I do think the format is very reliable. So it's one of those where I don't think there's been many bad movies in that franchise. Most of them are very watchable.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll rewatch it. I might get into it more on the rewatch, but I'll stick it as an honourable mention because it was nice to finally get a new one in that franchise this year, and I'm glad that it did so well. Another honourable mention is Good Boy. So which I actually saw on Halloween. And so this is an indie movie, which is basically a horror movie, but from the point of view of a dog. And you literally are in the dog's like head throughout the movie pretty much. So his owner takes him to this new house out in the sticks, and that's because the owner has recently lost a relative, and the relative has left it in his will to him. And he kind of isn't getting on with his girlfriend that much, so he's taking the dog away for the weekend. And the house may or may not be haunted. And there's also like a subplot with the owner where he appears to have terminal illness. And you follow the whole thing from the dog's perspective. And it's very well done. Like, it's very well directed. Like, as I said, you really get into the dog's like point of view. It really plays into, I think, the instincts of like dogs and kind of how they pick up on like human emotions when a human's down, and just the loyalty in general, because the character in the movie, like the owner of the dog, isn't always the most likable. He's a very difficult person to be around. He does sort of come around later in the movie, but for a lot of the movie. And so the gimmick works well. I think that's the thing, is would it work well second time around once you've seen it? I don't know if it would or not. And there's always the danger with this sort of movie where it's going to maybe feel a bit too slow and indie, but it's quite a short movie as well. So I think that's definitely in its favour. But yeah, I like that one quite a bit. So that would just be an honourable mention just outside. And my other honourable mention is actually a Shudder movie, which is The Ugly Stepsister, which I also saw in October. So this is a Scandi movie, but it's like a dark comedic twist on the Ugly Duckling storyline. And so I don't really need to say much about the plot, except they turn it into a more kind of grotesque body horror at times version of that, with really dark humor. But there's a lot of satire about sending up like the kind of pressures of like high society and things like that. But yeah, I didn't really know much about it. So the fact that it turned out to be such a strange movie and such a grotesque movie, and I really got into the dark humor of it, like it really went full on farce in a way I didn't expect, and I absolutely loved that about it. So it's very, very dark, very entertaining. Yeah, it's some funny dialogue, some cringe dialogue, but again in a funny way. So yeah, Ugly Stepsister, I think bit of a, again, it's more of a stream. I think it did get a small cinema release, but my guess is more people will see it on Shudder. So yeah.
You have to check that one out. I've heard good things about it, and I think when I found out it was foreign, I was like, well, I can't watch that one with my mom or my dad because they'll occasionally watch foreign films, but they're not real big on it. So I gotta watch that at some point though.
Yeah, it's a nice surprise when you go into a movie not knowing much, and it really surprises you like that. The one I almost had at number 5, maybe, instead of Dangerous Animals. So I was dancing about a couple. I think Dangerous Animals, just being a surprisingly good shark movie, maybe swung it. So we're on the other end of the spectrum now. I guess we're going to pick some of our worst horror movies.
Okay.
Of the year.
I've got 3.
Okay.
So yeah, starting at number 3 is The Shrouds by David Cronenberg. It was such a cool premise about this guy who invented some technology where you can watch your loved ones decompose in their casket after they've been buried. Because that's a thing that we've all wanted, right?
Yeah,
no. I miss grandma. Let's go check in on her corpse. but it's an interesting concept. Like, why would someone design this, and what sinister purposes could be used for it? But like, the plot just doesn't ever go anywhere. There's like a conspiracy plot where it's like he finds something weird about his wife's corpse, and he talks to a doctor. He's like, should this, be there? What is this? That doesn't go anywhere. There's like a subplot with he starts having nightmares about his wife, like losing body parts, and he keeps having sex with her, and she's losing more body parts, and that doesn't really go anywhere. I guess that's just supposed to symbolize his grief, but I thought it was going to lead to something. There's also like an AI thing on his phone that I thought might have some kind of plot. None of it goes anywhere, so I was just like, by the time I got to the end of the film, I was like, that's it, and it was just a big waste of time. And it's not even like a fun, it's so bad, let's watch it to make fun of it film, because it's very slow as well. And it's kind of like somber. The tone is very somber, and it's just not a good time. I did not enjoy it at all.
Oh dear, it didn't get that much of a release, so it was one I was gonna see earlier, because I am a massive Cronenberg film fan. I've seen most of his films, and yeah, he's done some real classics. I know his later films have been more up and down, and I remember his last film I thought was really boring. So it's a disappointment, because there's not many of his films I haven't liked. Very unique filmmaker. Still gonna watch it. But
well, let me know what you think, and if you got something else out of it. Because I know he's kind of an experimental filmmaker too, but I didn't get anything out of it except disappointment.
Okay. My number 5, I don't know if this is more of a disappointment, but it didn't do much for me anyway, which is The Monkey. I really did.
Oh, The Monkey. Yeah, that one was kind of mid for me. It was better than I thought it would be based on the trailer. Yeah. I was hyped at first because I read the Stephen King story. Then I saw the trailer and I was like, oh, no. But I ended up seeing it anyways, because a lot of times I just get dragged to movies, with people, or come watch this with me. And it was better than I thought it would be. But yeah, I can see that being on a worse list too, because it's just okay. Like,
Yeah, I think that's how I would describe it. I mean, probably what I would say about it is, because, of course, it's from the guy who did Longlegs. Now, I'm a bit contrary on Longlegs, because I actually don't love it as much as people do. But what I would say is, at least with Longlegs, he feels like he's more working towards his strength, because he's definitely a talented director who can create suspense. And so I'm wondering if maybe doing straight up horror movies, which are, quite arty and weird, that's his strength. Because him trying to do comedy in this, I just didn't find the comedy that funny. I thought it fell flat a lot of times. I remember finding the lead character very obnoxious, and not really obnoxious in a way that you could get into. So yeah, it was very middling. Like, obviously the director has a lot of talent, but I just felt cut off from the movie for a lot of it. It does have Tatiana Maslany, who I absolutely love, so she's probably one of the highlights. But yeah, no, it was a bit forgettable at times. And yeah, I tell you a story though. It's sort of funny, because I went to see this the same night as I went to see Heart Eyes, and I think it's because I tend to get 2 free cinema tickets a month for a certain cinema, so I think that I used them both on that night. And I mean, obviously, Heart Eyes isn't the best thing in the world, but I think by comparison, I went into Heart Eyes afterwards. I thought, yeah, this is quite pleasant in comparison. It's like that other movie is maybe trying to be a bit too cynical and indie, and and I had quite a pleasant time with Heart Eyes without it maybe being like the best thing in the world. So yeah, The Monkey just didn't do it for me overall. I do need to go back and watch some of his other films, because I've only seen those 2. Because I've heard mixed things about the one he's just released. And pretend that I knew all along. I'll see what it's just Keeper.
Oh, Keeper. Okay.
Yeah. That's the same. That's the same director, so that's his other film which just came out, and I've heard mixed things about that. He also did The Black Coat's Daughter. That was one of his earlier.
Oh yeah,
that's meant to be good, isn't it?
That was interesting. Yeah.
Nice.
All right.
For some reason.
Oh, go ahead.
This is really random, but for some reason, Legally Blonde is coming up with his other film. Surely he's got nothing to do with Legally Blonde. Unless he has an acting role in it or something randomly. I don't know. That's blown my mind. Oh yeah, no, he is in it. Yeah, he's got an acting role in, so he obviously had a little bit of an acting career.
That's interesting.
That's funny, yeah. Because his dad is Anthony Perkins. I don't know if you know.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
It's a horror royalty. Next pick is, again, a little bit more sci-fi, but definitely some horror. And this was an Apple TV original. It is The Gorge. So this movie was so boring. And so you've got Anna Taylor-Joy, who I like, Miles Teller, who I don't like. He's very boring, very bland. And so they just play spies from like different countries. So she's Russian, he's American, and they've both been sent mysterious mission to go and guard this gorge. And so they're on opposite ends, and there's something down below, and they kind of start communicating with each other, and there's a little bit of a vibe between the two. So it is like sci-fi mixed with horror. Like once you see what's down there, you'll see how it could be more of a sci-fi movie, but it's a good premise. It's from the same director as The Black Phone, but it just fell flat. It was really dull. It was really sluggish. The pacing was very slow. Yeah, it just felt like it didn't know what it wanted to be. Like it because it tried to play it as this quirky, life-affirming indie-rific film at time where they were kind of like dancing and playing records and like holding up signs, and it felt like, no, this isn't the kind of movie this should be. Like, you're making this way too quirky.
That didn't, I did see the advertisements for that. That does not sound like the movie they marketed, so I can definitely understand being disappointed. That's strange.
It was a waste of a good premise, because the premise is fantastic, and there's lots of fun you can have with something down in the gorge and these two agents. And Taylor-Joy was on cruise control. I think maybe she was just waiting for the next meaty role to come along. They didn't really have any good chemistry. Sigourney Weaver is very briefly in the movie, so we could have done with a bit more of her. But yeah, I mean, very forgettable. I mean, it's very generic. Not the worst thing ever, but definitely it's almost more boring, and that's what makes it worse than maybe something which is like objectively worse, but it at least gives you things to talk about, things to like rant about. So yeah, The Gorge is my number 4.
Second, and it's very similar to what you just said. It's Ash with Aaron Paul, and it's just like, it's boring. It's so boring. And also, like, there's this big mystery you have to unravel, and I knew it before I even saw the film. I was like, I bet it's this. I won't spoil it in case somebody still wants to go watch it, but I think I spoiled it in my best of video, so don't watch that if you want to go see Ash, but I think I would be saving you an hour and a half of your life. But yeah, the mystery is very obvious. It's the same thing that's in most spaceship movies. And there's one person that was like, I had no idea. It kept me on my toes. And I was like, well, have you ever seen a horror story set in space? Because a lot of them have the same plot, and this is the same plot I've seen over and over. I just don't think there was a single original concept in the whole film. And Aaron Paul is just like horribly underused. Like, I would have made him the main character. Yeah, he's such a good actor. And the lead actress, she wasn't terrible. Then again, she didn't have, a whole lot of, it wasn't a very deep role. She wakes up, she has amnesia, she's got to figure out what's going on. And yeah. And so just no originality. That was my biggest complaint. And the characters were very flat. I didn't think the special effects were that great. It was just a big disappointment, especially because I was excited to see Aaron Paul in another space movie after seeing the episode of Black Mirror Beyond the Sea, which is one of my favorite episodes. So I was like, ooh, this will be another probably high concept, space film. And yeah, it was unfortunately just very generic. So
Next pick, so my number 3 is Drop, which came out earlier in the year. So it's another one I caught up in October. I did a review of it for the channel. And yeah, it's actually from the director of Happy Death Day. But I think the crucial thing is he's not the writer. And I think that might be the crucial thing why it doesn't really work. Because it does have a good premise. Like, so you've got a woman who's recently come out of an abusive relationship and her husband dies. You get like a flashback at the start of the movie. So it fast forwards a year and it's her picking up the pieces, and she's got a kid, so she's a single mother. So she finally has worked up the thing to like go on a date for the first time in a year since it happened. So most of the movie is at the date, and it's her waiting for this guy, and it becomes a whole social media thing where it's like through a dating app, and it appears as though someone is watching her in the restaurant, and you start getting all these cryptic messages, and it turns out that someone's blackmailing her and trying to get her to do a certain thing, otherwise her kid could be in like danger. And I can't really say anything else without going any further into like spoilers. So the premise is good, and it had a decent hook to it where it could be about modern technology quite a lot and like dating apps and things like that. But yeah, I think after a good start, because I think the opening of the movie was pretty solid, where you follow the lead character and she's quite a likable enough character. Like the actress, I think, was doing a decent job. And I think the start of the movie was quite relatable, of like, you're on the first date, you've not met this person before, you're kind of checking your phone, you're a bit nervous about like, are they going to show up? If they do show up, what are they going to be like? And also a relatability that like single parents might have, of like, you're constantly worried about leaving, because she leaves him with her best friend or babysitter or something, like sister, but you're constantly worried as a parent about leaving them. When you get into the meat of the mystery and some of the gimmicks of the movie, yeah, I think they hit you in the face a lot with like the technology and the visuals of it, and kind of there's this whole running thing about how the letters and the messages just come up in like big bold letters, like on the actual screen, like they're actually in the air type thing. And yeah, I didn't really get into a lot of the characters, and it's one of those, like, you can sort of see where it's going. Like, it doesn't really go in any surprising places. It's not very suspenseful. I guess in a way it's more of a thriller than a horror movie, but like it's sort of in the realm. And yeah, I think it just felt flat after like a good opening. Like, it was a decent premise, and I think with some tweaks there's definitely things you can do with the premise. Like, later on, I think it turned into a bit of a generic, cheesy action movie as well, so that wasn't so great. So, decent opening, but it kind of slowly went down from there, and I can't recommend it, sadly.
I hadn't seen that one, but I've been planning on checking it out. But now that I hear that, like, okay, yeah, I think I'll pass too. That does sound. I worried when I saw the trailer that it might not have much more to it than just the very generic storyline. And now that is confirmed, I'll skip that one.
And number 2, which was very early in the year again, and that's The Wolfman. This was very disappointing, because you've got Leroy now. He did such a great job with The Modern Invisible Man.
Yeah.
and I was hoping for something in that mold where it's like you're taking a premise where it's now quite an old premise, but you can update it and retool it and really do something with it. I think there was attempts to do that, but I don't think they ever really did that with this movie. Like, and it did end up being quite generic. Like, I think the effects were pretty dodgy as well. I don't know if it was one where they just rushed the effects, but the effects weren't very good, and maybe you expected a better caliber of a Lee Ranell film. Yeah, no, it didn't really do enough for me with the story. Like, I could tell it was set in a modern setting. I could tell there was certain things that were quite modern about it, but it didn't really do enough with the premise to make it a modern, this is a fresh take on it. It didn't really feel like that much of a fresh take. And I struggled to get into the characters. I thought the characters were a little bit bland and quite annoying as well. And it was... Yeah, as I said, I was surprised the effects weren't great. Like I remember them being pretty ropey. So I went along and I was sort of prepared because I'd heard it wasn't that great, but because of it being him and he's taking on another Universal Monsters classic, I thought he's going to do something interesting with it, and sadly he didn't seem to.
I was actually thinking about seeing that one in theaters, and I completely forgot about it until you just mentioned it. So that's another one I will not bother checking out. And yeah, I didn't hear anything great about it either. So yeah, that is a disappointment, especially coming from Lee Ranell. One worst horror film of the year was Rosario with So the whole film is about this girl that's going to her mom or her grandma. I don't remember. It was weird because I think it was her grandma, but sometimes the storyline made it seem like it was her mom. But anyways, she goes to grandma's house, and the grandma passed away, and she is like going through her grandma's stuff, and she finds some occult things, and she thinks that her grandmother must have done some kind of spell so that make sure that she's successful, and she feels bad because she didn't have a good relationship with her grandma. She didn't visit her enough and stuff like that. Anyway, so the whole thing is her kind of just going through her grandma's shit for an hour and a half, trying to figure out what her grandmother was up to that probably got her killed. And the neighbor keeps coming over, and that played by David Dastmalchian. He's the best part of the film. He starts off asking, he's like, "Can I come in? Because your grandmother borrowed my air fryer." And she's like, "No, you can't come in. I don't know who you are. There's a blizzard outside. Help can't come, and you're a stranger." And he's like, "I just want my air fryer." And like the whole time you're thinking, okay, this is not about an air fryer. This guy, he knows something. Either he's trying to get some kind of, either he killed the grandma, he's trying to get evidence out of the apartment, or like he had some deal with her and he needs some magical item from the house. Like something else is going on. And she comes back later. He's trying to pick the lock to get in there. I was like, oh, it's definitely not an air fryer. And it turns out being an air fryer. He just wanted his air fryer. And in retrospect, it's hilarious. But but as I was watching it, I was like, come on. Like, I've been waiting for anything interesting to happen. And like the neighbor who was, David Dastmalchian plays the creepy guy so well in so many of his roles, and he nailed it in this one. And I remember thinking there's another scene too where he talks about you should have visited your grandma more, and he's like putting on chapstick as he's talking, which is such an interesting character choice to make. He's just so weird in that role. And I remember thinking, okay, maybe he won't be a straight up bad guy, but he knows something. And no, he's just a dude that wants his air fryer.
That's amazing, yeah.
And at the end of the film, he bashes a demon in the face with an air fryer. And that's
nice.
That's like the best part of the film. I was like, the air fryer makes an appearance. And I think that like if you compile all those clips together with just him wanting his air fryer and then bashing the demon in the head with it, that'd be a fantastic commercial for air fryers. It'd be the best commercial for air fryers ever.
Oh,
but unfortunately, or a short film, But unfortunately, everything else in the film was boring. So Yeah, so it's a great air fryer commercial, and it's a terrible horror film. That's my overall review for that film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put that on the poster.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I heard you talking about it on your video. I've not heard of this movie, but I can't believe this twist with the air fryer. That's insane. Because when you were talking about it, it's like, this is your worst horror movie of the year. That sounds brilliant. That sounds genius.
There is, you know what? I do think this is one you could probably watch to make fun of it. Like the other two on my list, no, but this one you probably could make, get some friends over, have a few drinks or whatever, and relax and just make fun of this film. Because David Dastmalchian's just a delightful oddball character, and there's just so many cheesy things that happen in it. So, I guess it's good in that way if you want to make fun of it. So,
yeah, very modern using an air fryer, but unfortunately that was only a small part of the movie.
Yeah, use the air fryer for almost everything. Like more air fryer ad placement here. I swear they're not paying us to say this, but I do use my air fryer for almost everything, other than like making pancakes. It's good. It's good for heating like anything frozen, and it's good for reheating things. It's great for reheating pizza. After you've cooked it. So I highly recommend the air fryer. There's no air fryer endorsement in this video. They're not paying me to say anything. I just really like my air fryer. So, and after I saw Rosario, I was like, I need to get an air fryer. And I was like, I already have one. What if maybe I should get a backup one? They're just so convenient. He's right. The neighbor's right. They're so great.
But if anybody's watching from one of these companies, we will take endorsements, because we need money basically, so we will take the endorsements if anybody's watching.
Absolutely.
And that will be
definitely endorse your products.
Okay. That's one I hadn't heard of as well. So, but I am going to check it out just for the air fryer stuff now. But I was also a bit annoyed it wasn't about Rosario Dawson, the actress. I thought of her when I heard the title.
Yeah.
My number one least favorite horror movie of the year is I Know What You Did Last Summer, 2025.
Oh, that's a good choice.
Yes. So this was pretty fresh for me because I'd been doing the older movies on the channel, like we'd done the previous three. And the original movies are ones I've got nostalgia for, but watching them back, I actually don't think they're great movies. Like, I think the second one is a cheesy, like, guilty pleasure because the plot is so dumb, it's kind of entertaining at times. But I do have a contrary opinion that I find the original movie actually pretty bad, like pretty boring, and I think they just take what is quite a silly premise a bit too seriously. So I've got that unpopular opinion. And then the third one is like absolutely trash, apart from the random twist they throw in. Just coming into this, like there's been no good movies in this franchise, in my opinion. And I'm not expecting this to be great. From the trailer, it looked pretty generic. I was concerned about the nostalgia bait, which a lot of these movies have now. They obviously got Freddie Prinze Jr. back. They got Jennifer Love Hewitt out of retirement, and a whole bunch of new characters. But I was thinking, movie, you've got an open goal here where you could be at least the second best of the franchise, because it's a pretty low bar. It's not going to take that much. And somehow it ended up being like the second worst, like only behind that straight to video like one. The characters were so CW and bland and annoying, and I think whereas in the original movie you at least had a sense of, okay, they're quite blue chip working class characters who you can kind of see how you might have something tied up in them. Like, these were just like, they look like male models, and they just look like rich, bratty sort of trust fund kids. And it's like, why do I give a shit about their problems? And they've got
Yeah, some of the characters I think were meant to be that way too, and that also just kind of like, it's harder to connect with them when they're so detached from normal people.
Yeah, the acting was absolutely terrible. It was
That
very
too.
wooden. It was surreal to watch, like in the cinema. Like I thought, what am I watching? You've got obviously the nostalgia beats. You've got the scene with Sarah Michelle Gellar, which I don't know. I'm undecided if that's actually quite a clever scene or if it's just like, oh, you sneaky gits, like you found a way to work her into the movie. But
I think that I did like that. That was probably the only thing I liked in the film, besides maybe one of the death scenes. Was that, yeah, because it was sneaky. It took me out of the film because I was like, they said they weren't going to bring her back, and they did. So I did like that. It was totally gratuitous. It was definitely nostalgia bait, like you said. I like that phrase too. I might start saying that because I see a lot of that in horror films. But it was still kind of fun though. I did like that. But yeah, I agree. It's one of the worst films. I should have put that on my list. I forgot about it. It's very forgettable, but that is a terrible film.
Yeah, I sort of, because I went in thinking, are you at least going to do something a little bit original? And they never did, and it was very generic. It was quite long. I remember thinking it was over long for what it was. Like, they didn't really do that much with the cameos, like, from the older cast. They were pretty lazy, and the kind of double twist was, like, really stupid. And they also did this thing, because with the older movies, at least, you had a little bit of a gut punch, but it was more like just a gut punch of, okay, making you question things. It wasn't so much we're setting up for a sequel. Like, this was outright setting up for a sequel, but it was done in such a bad way where like one of the killers literally survived, and like that whole thing was unresolved. And the characters didn't seem to care. It was almost, oh, by the way, such and such person is still out there.
Yeah, no, I totally forgot about the ending. That was wild. So the one girl's like fiance's dead. All their friends are dead, and they're just like sitting there at the patio, like drinking, like, hey, things are good now. Like, oh yeah. I'm just like, oh my God. Did you forget your fiance's dead? Did you get head trauma or something? Like, that was so weird. They were trying to end it on like a happy vibe, but it's like, no, it was so tone deaf. But they just got out of the hospital too, so it wasn't even like there was a time jump. Not really, like maybe a couple weeks. That's way too soon to be like drinking cocktails and bonding with your friends and talking to. Yeah, that was tonally very weird.
Yeah, the motivation was really stupid as well. From I guess I'll say one of the killers. I don't want to spoil it completely in case people haven't seen it. I mean, at least now it's probably easy to see free on streaming. That's how I would recommend it. But it was, the whole motivation and the twist was really stupid. I think you're probably talking about the one good kill scene with the harpoon. That's the one I'm thinking of. I know that was in the trailer, so I at least give them a little bit of credit for using a different weapon in the franchise. And it's this funny thing now with this franchise is I think this movie is the one where it's maybe not taking itself so seriously, because I think now we've had enough of a history where it can make fun of itself, but sadly it's not entertaining with it. Like, it doesn't make that stuff funny. Like, it's just very generic to watch. The characters are very bland. Apart from one scene, there's no good horror scenes. Yeah, the plot is just a mess, really. I mean, speaking of guilty pleasures, I mean, you had the air fryer guilty pleasure. I've got the Brandy cameo in the credits guilty pleasure, because she was going for it, and that was fun. But it was just so funny that they were setting themselves up for a sequel where Brandy was going to be in it, and now I don't think it's going to happen. Hilarious. But yeah, that was the surreal cinema trip where I was just I should have known. I should have seen the warning signs, but I was sitting there in the cinema watching and thinking, how is this bad and this
Yeah.
boring? Like, at least throw a few modern twists in. You've got that opportunity, but like, apart from some obvious things, it didn't really feel like it could have been a movie that was made in the 90s in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And so many scenes of the water crashing on the rocks as well. It's like, because this was a thing in the original. Yeah, it's god awful.
I think, like you said, even the original series was always kind of like a knockoff of Scream, or like an inferior version of it.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion. So yeah, I agree. I didn't have high expectations, and I was still disappointed with this film. So it was not great. It's a good pick for number one. I completely forgot about that film. Otherwise, I probably would have put it on my list. I know it's kind of weird to have a top 4, but that one was worthy of mentioning in terms of how bad it is.
Yeah, well, we can make that your number 4.
Okay, that's my number 4, guys. Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Also, the TV series is really bad to that as well. So it's really on it. I think I saw 4 episodes of the TV series, and it's like, yeah, somehow this is making the movie seem much better now.
Now, I hadn't even heard there was a television series. I definitely won't be watching that.
It's more fun than our best horror movies, because it's more entertaining to trash.
It is. It is. It really is. Yeah, I noticed that when I was filming my best of video. I was like, oh yeah, I really went off about the air fryer.
Yeah. Okay. It's so boring just complimenting everything. Like, this is so well done. This is so well done.
Yeah, you got to be like, what are these girls celebrating? Her fiance's dead. What's wrong with these people? Why did they write it this way? Good non-horror films. For number 4, I put Eden, which is about a couple that come to this island with this researcher guy who's like trying to write a novel about like the human, what is the point of life kind of thing. And this is based on a true story, by the way, which I didn't know till the very end. And this couple, you know, they have nothing, and she's pregnant and he has a son already, and they're trying to like start a family and find a way to live on this island. The scientist is very hostile towards them and really wants them to leave, but they still feel sorry for them, and they help them and try to help them get water and survive. And then this really rich, snobby character played by Ana de Armas. She does a wonderful job playing a complete narcissist. She shows up with her 2 boyfriends, and she's talking about how she's going to build a hotel there, and you know, it's going to be the greatest hotel ever. And of course, the scientist guy, who's kind of a loner, is like, I really want her gone. I don't want more people on this island. But you know, she's not real good at like executing her plans, and she's definitely kind of one day we're going to do this and we're going to do that, and she has no idea what she's doing. She's kind of a con artist. So these 3 people coexist on this island, and they start, Ana de Armas' character starts like stealing from them and starts trying to cause problems between the scientist and the family. So it's just like a drama between these 3 people, or these 3 groups of people. And It's fascinating. It's even more fascinating when you know that it's based on a true story. And the person that wrote it said that it was actually even worse than what's in the film, but they didn't want to go too crazy. I guess they wanted to make it more grounded. But it's a crazy film, and it's really fun and better than I thought it was going to be. So I enjoyed that one.
Oh, great! Yeah, this is one. It's sort of on my list to watch. I don't really know much about it. I do like Ana de Armas. That sounds like a great role. I would watch her read the phone book, basically. Very easy on the eye, but very charismatic actress.
Absolutely, yeah.
I still need to see the John Wick movie she was in actually this year as well, Ballerina, because she's a great action, star ever since she was in that one scene in the James Bond movie 2 years ago. So, okay, yeah, I didn't know much about this. I knew she was in it, and I know it's recently gone on streaming, but yeah, since you recommend it, I think I'll take a look at that one. When I was in Australia, and I just had a few hours to kill, in between trains. $49 or whatever it was for the honor. It was in like this casino. And anyway, the movie I saw was Black Bag, which is a spy thriller. So Michael Fassbender's in it, Kate Blanchett, quite a few other people. It's got the actress who played Amy Winehouse in that movie last year. She's sort of I forget the actress's name, but she's an upcoming actress. And it's by Steven Soderbergh, who like in the past done a lot of big movies, but he did have a period where he took like retirement from movies and then has come back in recent years and probably hasn't done like a really good movie for a while. So I think because of that, my expectations were mooted. Also, I don't often like spy movies. Like I just find them a little bit bland. I don't always get on with the characters that well. It's quite a well-worn like genre at this point where maybe you're not going to have that much surprises. There's a mole and it's all about figuring out who the mole is, and like I think the Fassbender character takes a role in that, in like investigating. So him and Kate Blanchett are in like a relationship, and there's this whole subplot where he has to investigate and spy on her because she's one of the ones who's suspected, because it's probably someone within the group. And yeah, it was surprisingly good because it was very stylish and they just made it a lot more interesting than a lot of spy movies turn out to be. I think they just made it a lot more fun. Like it wasn't taking itself too seriously. They were having fun with the characters, some of the reveals. It had a nice little style, good ensemble casting. And there's a cameo role for Pierce Brosnan, who plays their boss. And I think, well, you've only got him there because he played James Bond. I think that's why he's there. But he was really entertaining. I think Brosnan is a bit of a guilty pleasure of mine because he is so hammy and stuff. And he does some really bad, like, hammy dialogue in this. And his accent is all over the place because he's obviously Irish, I think, but this is set in London. So I think he's meant to be doing a London accent. So he was almost being like almost like a pantomime type character. So he was hilarious in the movie. And he was a bit of a guilty pleasure, but I did enjoy it. It had good style. It had played with the plot quite a lot. So, but it's just a nice story because I had all these hours to kill before the train. So I thought I'd take a chance on this movie. Definitely not worth $47 or whatever I paid for it. Like hardly any movie is, but it was a good time, and it's a while since we've had a good Steven Soderbergh movie. And
what was the name of it again?
Black Bag.
Black Bag. Okay.
So that came out earlier in the year, but yeah, good cast. Pretty good time.
My number 3 is Good Fortune, which has Seth Rogen, Aziz Ansari, I think that's how you say his name, from Parks and Recreation, and Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves plays an angel that meddles in the life of Aziz's character. Because he's poor, he's really struggling. He gets hired by Seth Rogen. And, you know, he ends up getting fired for doing something that was a little stupid, but ultimately wasn't, you know, that bad. And, you know, Aziz's character is just ready to give up because his life is crappy and he's poor. So Keanu Reeves, the angel, comes down and he's like, I'm going to, you know, switch your life with Seth Rogen so that you can see having money isn't everything. And then it turns out it solves almost all of his problems and he's super happy. Keanu Reeves, his character, ends up getting stuck because he's told that unless he can make the Aziz want to go back to his old life, then he's stripped of his angel status. So it's really
Mhm.
interesting. And then he kind of teams up with Seth Rogen in order to like try to convince the character, you want to go back to your old life. You want to go back to being poor. So it's just like a fun kind of subversion of like, you know, It's a Wonderful Life and that kind of thing where the characters are like, oh yeah, my life was great and I wish I could go back. And it's like it takes a lot to try to convince this guy to go back because he's like, no, being poor sucks. So it's like a really nice, it's a nice story. It's good. It's a nice story about classism. It's very funny. Like that's the main reason I'm recommending it because it's funny. But yeah, it's got a nice commentary about classism and it's a clever subversion of that sort of storyline where it's like, oh, money isn't everything. And the story's just like, well, it's not everything, but it sure does help. So I liked that very realistic take. I liked that. It was very kind of anti-Hollywood in a way to be like, yeah, money helps. So it was a fun film though, and Keanu Reeves is hilarious as this sort of out of touch but well intentioned angel. He's definitely the best part of the film. So highly recommend Good Fortune.
Yeah, that sounds like a great role for Keanu Reeves, and he's one of those actors. Even though he's this massive star, he sounds like he doesn't really take himself too seriously, and he's always happy to send himself up in roles like that. So that's credit to him. My next film is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Superman. It's the new version of Superman, 2025. So the first movie of James Gunn's stint as DC creative guy, so taking over. It's highly anticipated for comic book fans of Superman and wanting a classic sort of feeling Superman after it being in, well, DC and comic book movies being in the doldrums for quite a few years now. And yeah, it was a breath of fresh air. So it was bright. It had colours that popped. It had entertaining characters. It didn't take itself too seriously. It's sort of funny because there's quite a dark political like subtext to it. But I mean, the film in general wasn't afraid to be like silly and colourful and sort of be ironic and make fun of itself. And that's refreshing, you know, considering the Zack Snyder version of Superman where everything is so kind of sinister or cynical and like taking itself too seriously, very sort of emo, and you lose that message of hope. Like that's what people say is the difference between Batman and Superman. You know, like Batman is the darker, kind of more gritty like superhero, whereas Superman is the one who's meant to provide hope. And that's what he does in this movie. So you've got a director who understands what the fans of the comics want, and it's giving it to them. You've got great versions of the characters, and it does have a classic feel to it when you think about like the Christopher Reeve Superman, but also at the same time it's doing its own thing with some modern twists. You've got a great Lois Lane. I thought she was really great, and I really liked how she was crucial to the plot, how in a way she played a massive part in working things out and saving Superman, and she was very proactive and feisty. Good Lex Luthor, Nicholas Hoult, you know, played him very much as a Mark Zuckerberg type character, but he was very effective, very charismatic in that role, but felt like a menace as well. Thing was made of the politics, and like I think the politics put a lot of people off maybe, but I think for me, because I'm someone who doesn't always like politics in movies, I think sometimes it's like, okay, why can't we go and switch our brains off for like 2 hours? And, you know, reality is depressing enough. There's nothing wrong with having a bit of escapism. But in this case, I think it does work for the plot of the movie. It works for the themes of what Superman is, because I think, you know, media manipulation is like a theme as well, and kind of a very what we're seeing at the moment in the US. And I think Lex Luthor being the kind of villain he is, I think that fits into something he would do. He would come up with these maniacal type, you know, earth-shattering sort of plans that involve manipulating the media, making Superman look like the villain. 2 odd complaints, but in general, I thought it was a very good movie, a very satisfying comic book movie, and yeah, I'd definitely watch it again. And also there's a nice little setup for like the Supergirl movie, which is now coming, which is at the very end, and I really like that because it just felt natural. Like, it didn't feel like a shoehorned thing in, and they weren't like hitting you over the head. It was just literally she kind of wanders into like the Fortress of Solitude at the end. There's a little bit of banter between her and Superman.
Mm-hmm.
She goes and collects a dog because he's been looking after a dog all movie, and it's like literally you just get a little dose of the character, and that's kind of setting you up for a Supergirl movie now. So that was quite well done. So good times, a good blockbuster, I'd say.
Okay. Yeah, I heard mixed things about that, and I do want to check that out though. So I'm gonna write that down. Put this on my best horror list, even though it's not horror, and that is Megan 2.0. Definitely more of a sci-fi action comedy than a horror film. There's like maybe 1 or 2 scenes at the beginning that are try to make you think, oh, this might be horror, and then it's way too silly. It doesn't take itself seriously though. It's very campy and fun, and obviously it's about Megan from the first film, the AI that was created to protect and befriend a little girl, and there's another evil AI robot that's more evil than Megan and has no interest in protecting the little girl. So the aunt who has custody brings Megan back in order to protect the girl. And it's a crazy plot that, the movie's just as crazy as the plot sounds. It's fun. The Megan character is super sassy, and I think that's what makes it work. That's what makes it entertaining, especially the scene where she starts singing to the aunt. Because she's been programmed to be, that's part of her programming is to she doesn't sing throughout the film. It's just one scene, I promise. But like that's part of her programming, I guess, to be entertaining. And she sang to the little girl in the first one. She starts singing to the aunt, and the aunt's like, no, stop. Don't do that. You don't need to sing. And then Megan just like puts her finger to the aunt's lip to like shush her. It's so funny. Fantastic time, way better than I thought it was going to be. So yeah, it was definitely a wonderful surprise, and I highly enjoyed that film.
From what you're saying, do you prefer it to the first one, or?
Yes, I think I gave the first one like 4 stars because I appreciated the commentary on parenting and AI and the over-reliance on screens, and it kind of felt like a Black Mirror episode. But it also had some fun campy moments too, like the dance that went viral on TikTok and all that. And it was fun. Yeah, I liked the first one, but I definitely prefer the second one. Totally different in vibe. Totally different vibe, but I definitely like the second one. And if they make another one, I hope they keep the comedy aspect and stay in this direction and don't try to take it seriously, because I think that I think it was a good call to go in the comedy direction. I think it worked really well.
I Like Me, the John Candy documentary, which came out recently. So it's an Amazon original, so that's where you're going to find it. And this one was quite personal because I grew up watching John Candy movies. He was quite a big part of my childhood. Such a talented actress, such a lovable actor who we sadly lost quite prematurely. But he was a big part of my childhood in some like classic comedies. And you never quite know with streaming documentaries because they are pretty hit and miss. But with this one, they've got a good cast of like talking heads. So a lot of people who worked with him. So Bill Murray, Tom Hanks, they're amongst the people interviewed. Actually, Colin Hanks directs it, so Tom Hanks' son. And you've also got John Candy's daughter and son as well. They both talk in the movie, so they give it a bit more of a personal thing. Catherine O'Hara talks, so people who've worked with him, because he's from Canada, and like there's a whole tradition in Canada, like because Eugene Levy's in the documentary, and they all came up in the same similar comic scene in like Canada. And because one of the things they say in the documentary is that they almost had their own version of Saturday Night Live, but it was on like Canadian TV. So that's how they all sort of started. So the Talking Heads are very good. It's a good tribute to a very like funny and entertaining guy who no one really seems to have a bad word about, and that's something which Bill Murray has a little bit of a fun with, like little bit of levity, where he's kind of saying, "No one ever said anything bad about this guy. I hope you dig something up for this documentary." And then he tells this story later in the documentary about how they were doing like a play or something. He hammed it up and did it way too much for the scene, and like the director's giving Bill Murray like funny looks, and it's just like, well, that's the one bad thing I can find out of everything to say about him. Then he overdid this one scene like in this random play. But yeah, there's lots of heartwarming stories, tributes, and lots of interesting stories from his childhood. And I think what I really liked about it, because sadly he did live quite a troubling life. You know, he struggled from mental health. His weight issues became a big thing with him, and how he didn't like that constantly being like a subject when he was in interviews. So although he's a very friendly, calm guy, you could see how that did sort of irk him quite a lot. And also, I think considering like nowadays mental health is so much more out in the open, like back then it wasn't, and he clearly suffered from what we would now call mental health. And part of that comes from the fact then he lost his father at an early age, and no one in the family talked about it for whatever reason. So he was never given that chance to really grieve his father, and I think that weighed on him throughout the year. Yeah, lots of interesting facts about him which I didn't know, like he co-owned a Canadian football team at one point, which I never knew. So you're going to learn quite a lot, and it's a good tribute, and it's very heartwarming and moving, but it's sad as well, like, and there's sort of themes in there which you maybe don't expect. And again, it's going to give you a whole new appreciation for him, maybe especially for people who didn't grow up with him and with some of his movies. So yeah, really good. I really enjoyed that one. So yeah, John Candy documentary, which is on Amazon.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. Yeah.
And
it also sounds very sad.
Yeah, it's pretty emotional at times.
Number one, and I just saw this yesterday actually, for like best non-horror film, is The Running Man. It was great. I also read the book for this one and thought it would be a really good film. And it's interesting, I read them both back to back, and the films came out pretty much back to back, so that's kind of cool. But the story is about a guy who kind of comes from a poverty background. His daughter is sick, and his wife, and he's been blacklisted from work because he, stood up for his coworkers one too many times, and he can't get a job, and they need money so they can get medicine for their daughter. So he ends up trying to sign up for any game show that will take him, and he ends up kind of getting, not tricked, but pressured into signing up for The Running Man, which is a game show where they hunt you down basically, and all of America, tries to hunt you down or report your location so they can get the prize money. And every day he stays alive, his family gets more money. So, and the goal is to survive 30 days. And if he survives 30 days, he gets to live. But, so that's the whole premise. And they did a great job. It's got a good balance of comedy and tension. They definitely take the premise very seriously, but it's definitely far more of an action film than anything else. And there's a lot of funny parts. Michael Cera is in it. He plays a sort of a rebellion leader, kind of, who's got like a sad backstory, and that's why he's trying to help the main character, because he, is very anti-government and anti the network that runs the show. But he's like plays a maniac that's just so hell-bent on revenge. He starts doing these crazy things, and he like booby traps his own house. And there's a scene where he's spraying the guards with a super soaker gun, and then he turns on the electricity so they all get electrocuted. And he's acting like a little kid, in a candy shop, just total manic energy. It's a great scene. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. And this is another one where they changed the ending, and I completely understand why, because the book ending it's definitely a downer. And this one's a little different. So they tweaked it a little bit. So it's a little bit less of a downer, but I think it was a good call because it wouldn't have fit the rest of the film, in my opinion. But it's great. It's a great movie. My dad and I had a blast watching this. Highly recommend it.
I'm on the fence. Like, when I heard this was announced, I was intrigued because I thought Edgar Wright is a good person to do it. I think he's such a big movie nerd, and I think, he's such a fan of probably the 80s movie, but also the book as well. Like, he seemed like a good person to be doing it. And I was intrigued by what they were going to do with it, because obviously the original 80s movie, it's a fun, campy time. It's obviously very different from the story, I'm guessing, but it is quite futuristic and probably quite unique and fun for its time. But I was interested what a modern take on it would be, and like what a kind of a more serious take on it would look like. So I've heard mixed things, so I think in the end I didn't go, but so I might wait for streaming. With Edgar Wright, some people have been very up and down on his movies, like recently, like, because it seems ever since he struck gold with the Cornetto trilogy, like his films have been a bit more up and down. I mean, personally, I'm not a Scott Pilgrim fan. I can't really stand that movie. Really, I don't like the lead character at all. I don't really find that one very appealing, but I do like some of his movies.
I'm going to give the original another shot, because the last time I tried to watch it, I kind of was like, oh, this is so far from the book, I'm not into it. But my dad, he's talked me into it, so I'm going to try rewatching it at some point. It's like, fine. He loved the first one, but he said he actually liked this one more. So so definitely check it out, because
I will do. Yeah. Well, the original, it's not like vintage Arnie. It's not like one of his best, but it is good. They have a lot of fun with the different characters, and like how it's almost like it's done almost like American wrestling or American gladiators, and you've got some fun characters in there. My number one is the Spinal Tap sequel. So Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues. They got the band back together, and I don't know, it's sort of funny with the original Spinal Tap. Like, I don't know if I'm a massive fan of it. Like, I think I appreciate it because of the gimmick, and it was maybe the first to do that mockumentary gimmick in that way. And it sort of set off a whole sort of trend of a style of documentary. But I think I watch it, and I think the gimmick is why it's so good, rather than it necessarily being funny scene from scene. There's definitely moments where you laugh out loud, where they haven't really seen each other for years, so we pick up on their lives, what they're doing. So one of them is randomly, like, he runs like a cheese shop, so there's a lot of jokes made about that. But it's about them getting back together, and they have to find like a drummer and things like that, and they audition, and basically going to do like a special concert and tour. And it's all about, in a way, how maybe the industry has left them by, how it's passed them by now, and how maybe they're not quite up with trends, that kind of thing. But it's great. Like, I just laughed from beginning to end. Like, I think it helps that it was made with a lot of heart, and that the people who did the original movies, they wrote this movie and they were involved, and it was the movie they wanted it to be. And I mean, we've sort of talked about nostalgia bait and things like that, and there's one or two moments, but they're moments which they actually make quite moving, and moments where they use it in a good way, where there is a little bit of a flashback. But yeah, the old spark is there, the chemistry is there, and it was very funny throughout. Like some of the new characters they introduced are quite funny as well. Like there's this sort of snooty manager played by Chris Addison, who's like a British comedian. He's quite funny in it. So it had that mix of being very funny throughout, but also being very poignant, you know, because you really care about these characters. And there's a scene on stage when they're rehearsing where, like, two of them fall out because the other one is basically accusing him of like sleeping with his wife, and like he's had this suspicion, and so that scene, at first it's quite funny, but then it goes quite tragic and becomes, well, not tragic, but it becomes a lot more awkward and kind of sad. And so yeah, it ends up being a very moving movie to go along with how funny it is. So it's definitely one of these where you bring it back and you think, oh, all these years later, like, is it really gonna work? And it works just as well. Like, it's so funny throughout, because I think also Rob Reiner, who's the director, but also he plays the interviewer in the movie. I think he's a crucial part of it, like what makes it funny, because of his reactions when he's like interviewing people. Like, he's a very deadpan sort of guy. So yeah, I saw it at the cinema and I went with my mate, and he's like, because it pops up with like footage of their concerts from before, and there's a concert at the Royal Albert Hall, and he's like, oh, I was there. So that was a nice little surprise.
Yeah, I hadn't even heard that had come out, so yeah, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it seems to be a thing where at the moment, because that came out very quickly, and it seems like for whatever reason, comedies aren't really marketable at the moment. Naked Gun movie this year, because I heard really good things about that, but that just really died at the box office. So I think that might hopefully get a bit more success, home release, and you know, streaming. Unfortunately, there's so many bad comedies, so maybe it's given them a bit of a bad name.
Maybe
there's a few disappointments for me. Of one of them is actually a horror movie, but I guess because it's more of a disappointment.
Okay.
So I'm going to mention it. I'm going to say Weapons, which we both know.
Yeah, that one was a little bit of a disappointment for me too. It wasn't on my list. I didn't actually make a list of disappointments, but I just thought of one. So I have a list with one movie, but now it's two, because yeah, Weapons was a little disappointing. Oh god, another hot take, but yeah. I just liked the trailer so much, and I had all these theories about what I thought maybe the military was taking the kids, or there was something else, and then also I wasn't a fan of the multiple POVs either. I felt like I could have cut out the junkie POV and the cop POV and the principal. Honestly, could have cut out all three of those and made this film. I think it would have been better if they focused on the teacher and the parent and maybe the kid. And I think that if they'd done that, I probably would have liked it a lot more. But it was okay. It wasn't bad. It was just like, it was so hyped by the time I saw it. And then like the ending was really weird. And like I said, in the middle, I got so bored with those POVs. So yeah, that was disappointing for me too.
Yeah, no, it was, it's not bad enough for it to be on like my least favorite, but it's definitely a disappointment. And it's obviously a movie a lot of people took to, and it's coming off the back of, a really solid debut in Barbarian for the same director. So there was some reason to have anticipation. And it did leave me cold. I think the end of the movie was definitely the highlight, but I've said before how it felt like two different movies stuck together. And I think I definitely enjoyed the second movie. I rolled my eyes at the stoner humor. I've already said this. I don't want to see any more movies with stoner humor. Like, that's occasionally it works, I guess, but it's so overdone. And that's another character you could have taken out of the movie and not really affected the movie. When I rewatch it, maybe I'll get into it more, knowing where it's going. But I kind of felt it's a bit over the top with some of its themes and the way it's portraying them.
Enough that I don't think I'm going to rewatch it either. Because unlike Sinners, I don't feel like it was just my expectations going in. I just feel like in general, I wanted a different kind of movie compared to what we got, and I don't think it was good enough to rewatch at any point. So it was just so mid for me. It was very mid. Yeah.
Okay. I will rewatch it because it's a movie where stuff is going on, and I just think it's possible it might hit me a different way second time around. I sort of have this rule with movies like that where it's 2 watches, and then if it doesn't grab me on the second one, then that's kind of it. Hey, I don't know if you knew, but that director is doing a Resident Evil movie.
Yeah, I heard about that. So
be his next
maybe that's interesting because like so far his thing seems to be halfway you think you're getting one kind of movie and now it's something totally different and I'm like it's interesting. Apparently it's probably not going to be a very close adaptation if he keeps up that sort of format, I guess you'd say. I don't know. I'll keep an eye on it. That's what I'm going to say. I'll keep an eye on it, but I have mixed feelings about him tackling Resident Evil because I want a really close adaptation of the original film someday, and I don't think he's going to be the one to deliver it. So,
knowing the sort of director he is, he might obviously do something quite different with it. And
you thought it was zombies, but actually it's vampires or something. I don't know. Actually, it's witches. I don't know.
We'll see. I mean, he's obviously a talented director, so
I liked Barbarian, so there's always a chance, that it'll be good. My other disappointment was Mufasa. I liked it. It was okay, but I'm a huge fan of The Lion King. It's probably my favorite animated film. Maybe up there with Shrek, but it's one of my favorites. Okay. And I was really looking forward to this. And, I think that for me, the biggest disappointment was the music just wasn't that good. And I didn't think it would be as good as The Lion King, obviously, but I thought it would be at least as good as the sequel to The Lion King. I think it was Simba's Pride, and it fell really flat. The songs were just not it. And the story was okay. It was fine, but I just wanted a lot more. That was one I went and saw in theaters, and I thought it was going to be really great. And it felt kind of like a cash grab, which is what my friend warned me of. And I was like, no, I love this. I love the series so much. It'll still be good. And it was a little disappointing. So. Yeah.
But no, you're always going to go. Well, when you've got that attachment, you're probably always going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the dangerous game we play as fans, if we've been tested.
Yeah.
And it hurts even more when it turns out to be disappointing like that.
Yeah.
It's a Star Trek movie that randomly went straight to streaming. So that's Star Trek Section 31, which came out very early in this. So I'll do a bit of background in case people don't know much about where the movie came from, because it's a spin-off for the Michelle Yeoh character, a spin-off for her character from Star Trek Discovery. And Star Trek Discovery is a very divisive show. Like, it has its ups and downs, but her character, Giorgio, was definitely one of the highlights of that show. So there was a lot of anticipation because she's a part of this group called Section 31, which is a group which has been used in other Star Trek series and things. And it's basically like a specialized group outside of the mainstream of Starfleet that investigates certain crimes and certain people within Starfleet. It was originally going to be a TV series. And I think what happened in the meantime is Michelle Yeoh won the Oscar, so she became in much more bigger demand and maybe didn't want to be tied down to a series, so they just made it into a film. So I was waiting for this one because I'm looking forward to the Giorgio movie, and it was just generic crap. And it committed the sin which a lot of modern Trek does, of it doesn't feel like Star Trek at its core. Like, you know, like they've made modern Trek into too flashy and action-like, and it just feels like more of like it's a Star Wars or it's an action-type genre.
Mm-hmm.
There was really annoying, jarring characters outside of Giorgio, who was the lead, but some of the supporting characters were like really bad. And it felt like a heist movie. At times, it felt like Ocean's 11 meets Star Trek, which obviously it
that's
shouldn't
weird.
be. Yeah, like I think you can do the odd heist like episode of Star Trek in like one of the series, but yeah, to make it that much of a heist movie for this thing just didn't work. Ropey effects, the characters weren't great, very generic. Yeah, it's very disappointing, very forgettable, and hurt a little bit because I really love Michelle Yeoh. I really like the Giorgio character.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and I think in some ways Star Trek is one of those, it works best as a TV series, and so I would have enjoyed having the whole series, but then considering how bad the film was, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe we were saved. My other disappointment, which you're going to scold me for, well, this fits, I think, a little bit into the weapons category of it might hit me a different way on the second viewing, but it's 28 years later.
Oh, okay.
I was just left a bit cold by this. Like, I didn't really know what to think. They obviously had this big gimmick about how it was all shot on iPhones.
Yeah.
And
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. I don't like it whenever movies use a gimmick to promote the film. I think that it's cheesy, and especially a film like this, that's just got such a high reputation attached to it. You don't need to do that. You don't need a gimmick to sell it. We're already invested in the universe. That's
Yeah, I think they probably got a bit too carried away with the gimmick, and there were certain things in the movie that just took me a bit out of it, where they were like mixing like documentary footage into it. I didn't really like that. A lot of times it can work, but a lot of times I'm just like, I like to be immersed in the fictional world. And I think in the end it was a decent movie. Like, there were definitely effective scenes. There were quite chilling scenes, like the way it opened. Great use of Teletubbies. No spoilers on that one. But yeah, you had a pretty good cast. Like, because I will say this, like, for the very first time, I actually didn't mind Alan Taylor Johnson, because I normally don't like him. I think it's because they put a beard on him, and it was like he turned out to be an arsehole anyway, and that's what I expect from him. So when he turned out to be an arsehole, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, the kid they got was really good. Like, he was really maturity ahead of his years. He was very, very good. And it definitely had moments. Like, it had beautiful moments. Like, I would say, without giving away too much spoilers, the middle part of the film, the Ralph Fiennes part of the film, was the highlight, because that was so beautiful, that part of the movie. Both talked about the ending with Jimmy, which we don't like.
No.
That was a little bit cringe, and I've actually seen people compare it to almost like a TikTok type video.
They stuck a TikTok at the end of a pretty good movie, in my opinion. I liked it a bit more than you did. I also liked the scenes between the boy and his dad, and the dad teaching him basically, this is how you survive in this world that we live in. It felt very Walking Dead to me. So I enjoyed most of this film, honestly, other than the last part, which my dad hated. My dad didn't like the film overall. I kind of understand why. He's a big fan of the second one. He likes the action, and he thought this was going to be more like that, and this felt more like one of the slower episodes of The Walking Dead, honestly. But I did like the theme, like the coming of age, and there's a little bit of grief horror in this as well. I liked it, even though it didn't feel like 28. Didn't feel like it was related to the other films, tonally speaking. because this is more like coming of age story that just happens to have zombies in it. Now, I don't know what they're going to do with the other 2 films in this trilogy they have planned. I will say I saw the trailer for the Bone Temple, and it's not one of my most anticipated films. Like, it does not look as good as the first one did. I'll probably still watch it, but I don't think I'll be rushing to theaters to see it.
Okay.
But I can definitely understand why people were disappointed with this movie, though. I liked it, but God, the last couple minutes are just, there's no excuse. There's no excuse for that. It's just tonally so weird and different from the rest of the film.
No.
Ugh.
It felt a little Power Rangers as well.
Yes, it felt exactly like Power Rangers. Oh my gosh. Yeah, like, man, just way to make me not want to see the next film, you know?
Yeah. But no, that's where I am. Like, it's not a big feeling. Like, overall, I think it is a decent movie, and it definitely had moments. And like I said, it might hit me a different way when I rewatch it. But there was just something about it, just some sort of barrier that was stopping me from, like, sort of fully embracing it. So...
yeah, I definitely think a lot of people had different expectations for what that film was going to be. And I wonder if they'd taken the Jimmy part out and just didn't make this part of 28 years later, just called it something else. Because at this point, we've had fast zombie movies, and we've had zombie movies where it's like a virus anyways. It's not as unique of a concept. So if they hadn't tied it to that universe, although I heard they're bringing Cillian Murphy's character back at some point. So maybe that's why. But I kind of feel like if it had been its own thing and this hadn't been like a highly anticipated release, you know, people have been waiting for years, then maybe it would be received a little bit better. I mean, some people still liked it like me, but I definitely think it was those expectations that led to a lot of people being disappointed.
Yeah, that's probably fair. And I think another thing to say is that because it is part of a trilogy, you might have different feelings on it once you've seen the rest of the trilogy.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I mean, to me, it might suddenly seem like a better movie. And to other people who like it, you know, maybe it won't seem like such a good movie if they're disappointed with the movies that follow it. But you do have to consider it with that. But also, it has to work as a standalone movie as well.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll talk about some of our highlights on TV for the year now.
Yeah. Starting at number 4 is Black Mirror. I thought that this was a big step up from the last season where they introduced like supernatural elements, which I did not like at all, because the show is about sci-fi and it's dystopian, and they gave us that this season. There was no more supernatural stuff. You know, there was, especially the first episode was really great. Which is about it's a metaphor for healthcare, and there's this girl that they put AI in her brain and it wakes her up from a coma, and she and her husband have to keep paying more and more money for the subscription service, which is AKA health insurance, to keep her alive, and her quality of life keeps diminishing as they're unable to afford the premium package. And what was the premium package, or what was the standard package, is now the premium package. And it's a heartbreaking episode. That ending just guts you. It's so depressing. But it was a great episode. It's one of my favorites, I think. And then the rest of the episodes weren't as good, but they were still interesting. My dad and I binged the whole thing in one day.
Okay.
We loved it. It was so good. So, not my favorite season, but it was definitely a step up from last season, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah, still got some bite. Yeah, that sounds like an intriguing thing. Yeah, I've only ever seen one episode of Black Mirror, which was...
Oh, you've got to get into it. I can send you a list of like the best ones. But yeah, there's so many great actors in it too. Like I said, Aaron Paul is in that Beyond the Sea, and that's one of my favorite episodes. It's a very bleak show, but there's so many good episodes in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I just caught one randomly on, and this is the days when it was on Channel 4 in the UK, so it was like, it would have been the first series.
Okay.
I think, what one was it? I think it was the one with Jodie Whittaker in, so it's like the one where you can see if your partner's cheated on you.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I
the
remember
history of
that being
you.
a good one. Number 5. We're back to Star Trek, so more positive Star Trek this time.
Okay.
But the 3rd season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which is my favourite modern Trek show.
Okay.
So the trick to this is it's a prequel involving the Pike character, who was a character on the original series. So you've also got like Nurse Chapel, who was a character in the original, but she gets a much bigger role. You've got like younger versions of Spock in this. You've got younger versions of, eventually they introduce Scotty. Uhura as well. There's a younger version of her, and some newer characters. I mean, there's a character where she's like a relative of Khan Noonien Singh, set right before the original series. So in a way, it's showing the story of how they're going to get to the point that they do when they join in the Enterprise and Kirk's thing in the original series. But yeah, it's been a really great Trek show because it gets that right balance of like sort of case of the week mixed with serialized. A lot of modern Treks suffer from being too serialized and trying to have like a mystery where like it becomes way too convoluted. And this just gets the right balance because like each season is like 10 episodes, and so each episode, it feels like it's a different gimmick, like they try a variety of gimmicks, but also each episode they'll use to focus on one particular character. So it's quite a good way to like get character development in those episodes. But at the same time, there's ongoing themes that arc throughout the season. So I think they've got the right balance, and the fact that they try all these different gimmicks. So there's been like a musical episode, there's been like a body swap episode.
Oh yeah, I love body swap episodes.
Yeah. I mean, they've done all sorts. Like this season, there was like a murder mystery like type episode. Start this season is a good example of that because the first episode was like a continuation, like a cliffhanger from the previous season, where they round it up, and it's a very intense action-packed episode. And then the next one was a much more comedic episode where it was all set around this wedding and basically like a love potion almost type episode.
Oh, okay.
So that sort of shows like the two extremes right there. So I mean, it was great to have it back, and they've cast the characters really well. You've got really good characters, like authentic to Star Trek fans. Like it feels like this is a great tribute, and it gets the feel of Star Trek. I think to the hardcore fans, there are complaints to do with like maybe the characters are a bit too quirky and like life affirming, and it's a bit like they're not taking this seriously enough, like they're meant to, like almost with the captain, they feel he's a bit lackadaisical at times. Weakest season because up to this point, like the previous 2 seasons, it had this really nice thing where out of 10 episodes, there was only really 2 weaker episodes. And even they weren't like terrible episodes. They were just not quite as good. So it was a really good ratio where like the majority of it was good. And I think for this season, it was a little bit more inconsistent. And there was 1 or 2 things like storyline wise, like certain relationships, which I wasn't so keen on this time around. So it was a bit more inconsistent, but still very good, still worth watching, still plenty. I think because it's such a mixture of a show where they're trying different things episode to episode, and sometimes it's not going to work, but it's interesting to see them try it. And yeah, it's such a mixed bag of a show, and it's still doing plenty of great Star Trek type things. And the ending, like the finale, which was that was quite beautiful. The finale, it was a good finale to the season, even though the plot at times didn't make a lot of sense. But I really like what they did with the finale. So it's always worth watching if you're a Trek fan. So that's season 3 of Strange New Worlds.
Okay. Yeah, I have not seen any Star Trek, like, ever. So
Yeah.
I
Okay.
should. I know I have a lot of friends that are into it, and it seems like the kind of show I would like. So, do you think that's a good one to start off with if someone's never seen any Star Trek?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. I mean, obviously, because you don't have the history, you might not have so much going into it. So, yeah, I think from that point of view, it might be a good one too. And yeah, I mean, I can recommend you some stuff, and
Okay.
obviously some of the movies I like as well.
My number three is Alice in Borderland.
Nice.
This is, so as you don't know, it's a Japanese show about a group of people that get stuck in this other dimension, basically, where they have to play games in order to survive a few more days, and they have to keep playing these life or death games. And the second season kind of wrapped everything up, and I didn't even know there was going to be a third season. They kind of hinted at it with a Joker card, but they didn't really. Nothing insinuated that they had to continue. And this whole season kind of feels like they didn't have to, but it's kind of cool that they did. Um, it only has a couple characters. Arisu and Usagi are the two main characters. And one of them ends up in Borderland, and then the other one has to go after to try to save them. And the only thing I really didn't like is that Chishia, who is like everyone's favorite character,
Mm-hmm.
wasn't really in it. And there's a lot of other fan favorites that weren't in it. But there is some cameos at the end of the show, or at the very end of the last episode, that were pretty cool. Um, and yeah, I'll just say the whole season was not like super necessary, but I do feel like there's some really cool games in it, and that's kind of like the main reason people watch is for the cool like life or death games. It's kind of like a sci-fi version of Saw or something. And there were some really cool ones, including a game where they had to play a card game where they had to compete, and some people had zombie cards and some people had shotgun cards, and if you played a shotgun card to someone that has a zombie card, then they get shot and die in real life. And then there was some other things that were cool. And if anyone is a fan of the manga, you'll definitely like how they adapted several of the games that were in the manga into the show, which is
Okay.
something I really enjoyed. So yeah, it was good. If you're a big fan of the show, you'll like it. So I enjoyed it. It was a good send off for the characters.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, no, because of the premise, that does sound like something I would enjoy, and that's on Netflix, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. We should probably say, like Star Trek, it's Paramount Plus. Number four for me is a limited series. This is on Netflix, and it's called Wayward, starring Toni Collette,
Mm-hmm.
and it's written and starring Mae Martin. So it's Canadian set. And yeah, so it's set in this fictionalized town called Tall Pines. And it's basically about these two teenagers who get taken away. I mean, with their parents' permission, but they're taken to this institution, to this home for like wayward teens. And it's getting into very modern themes about ideas of like being anti-transgender, anti-gay, because they're gay characters. And so the place is run by the Toni Collette character, who is very like religious, very like heavily religious, has a very strong personality, and yeah, she is the boss of the place, and sort of rules it with a very stern set of like values and principles, and very sort of extreme, but it's a look into that sort of extreme like conservatism and about like the manipulation of things. And also you get the Mae Martin character recently moved to the town with her partner, and her partner is someone who grew up in the town, so she's like returning. So there's a lot of personal history with them, and it becomes like this mystery about what exactly is going on at this place. What's the past? So you see like the two main teen characters try to escape at some point, but you also get a bit of a conflict because one of them is very much like, it's in our best interest just to stay here and ride it out, because eventually one day, if they think we're reformed, we will get out. And the other one is a lot more, no, we've got to rebel, we've got to get out of here now, all the rest of it. So there's a bit of a conflict there. And there's just a whole backstory and mystery to what's been going on in the town. And there's a couple of twists and turns. There's quite a big twist at the end of the first episode. So it's probably best if you're going quite fresh.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Toni Collette is amazing.
Yeah,
like,
I was about to say, you had me at Toni Collette. But okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
Yeah, because she plays this very sort of like intimidating, like icy type character very well, and the sort of character who's very entrenched in her views and just has a certain way about her. You've got sympathetic like protagonist. The Mae Martin character is very sympathetic because as things go along, it seems like she's the only one with common sense in the town and the only one who's actually trying to do something to help these kids. So it's very well done. There's a great use of music. There's a great use of like period sort of detail. And yeah, they make it very funny as well. Like there's laugh out loud moments of black humor. Like it's very satirical in what it's doing, but it's also quite an intense edge of your seat type series with interesting characters. I think my only complaint was I did feel the ending was a little bit rushed, and it might be because it's like an 8-episode limited series, and I think with streaming shows, sometimes you get a range of like how long each episode is, and some of these episodes were quite short. So I think maybe they could have taken a little bit more time to wrap it up at the end. But it's definitely not afraid to go to dark places, and it definitely has like big important themes. So yeah, that was a good one. That was a good little gem.
Okay. I'll definitely check that out. Like I said, you had me at Toni Collette,
Toni
so
Collette,
you could have just stopped right there. Okay.
Yeah,
the next on my list is Wednesday, season 2. I loved the first season so much. It's one of the very few shows that absolutely lives up to the hype. And I thought the season was as good as the first one. Wednesday Addams goes to this Nevermore Academy. And, you know, in the first season, it was mostly about her trying to fit in, or not trying to fit in, trying to like tolerate her roommate, I guess, but they end up sort of becoming friends becoming friends. And a lot of it is about her like emotional stuntedness. And, this one, the emotional stuntedness does come back, but it's not like the main focus of the character. And this one's more about her trying to like protect. First, she has to save Enid because she has a vision that Enid is going to be killed. And so most of the season is about her trying to protect her roommate, who she now cares for, and also trying to protect her family. And also within this school, the school is full of outcasts, which is like werewolves and shapeshifters and sirens and all these other, characters that have magical abilities. And also Wednesday is trying to unravel a mystery where certain outcasts have been targeted and being hunted. So she's trying to figure out, that mystery throughout the entire show. There's a lot of stuff going on in the second season, like a lot of things, a lot of subplots. But I mean, it all comes together in the end. And I think it was really good. I don't really have any complaints about the second season. It's just really entertaining, super addicting. I think I binged it in like 2 or 3 days. It was so good. Highly, highly recommend it. So
yeah, it does seem like a good binge show for anyone who enjoys it.
Yeah.
And I need to go back because I watched a few episodes when it first came out, like the first season. I was a little bit mixed. I remember like the first episode was okay, and then I didn't like the second episode, but then I quite enjoyed the third one a bit more. So I meant to go back to it, I mean, obviously Jenna Ortega is great casting as
Yeah.
Wednesday, and I know there's a cameo for Christina Ricci as well, which I
Mhm.
appreciate because
Well, it's
I
not
think
a cameo. She's in a couple
it
episodes. But
becomes
yeah.
okay, but
Yeah.
I guess that depends how you define cameo. But
Small role, yeah.
yeah, but yeah, and to me, she will always be Wednesday Adams because I grew up on that one. Number 3, this came out really recently, so this is Netflix as well, and this is The Beast in Me with Claire Danes and Matthew Rhys. Matthew Rhys out of The Americans, but this is Claire Danes reuniting with one of the writers of Homeland. So it's Howard Gordon, who also wrote on Breaking Bad, I think, as well. He was one of the writers. And it's actually got Jonathan Banks in, who was in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. But so this is a limited series, but it was kind of sold on the fact that it's Claire Danes' big return to TV since Homeland. She's a writer who's having like a lean spell, and she's got trauma in her past. So she lost a son in the past, and she continues to. He was hit in like by a drunken driver, basically. So she's still got that. And in the first episode, it's like the anniversary of the death, and she still has to see the guy who's responsible around town. So she's still living with like the trauma of that. She wants to do like a political type novel, and the novel which is seen as like being like sort of inspirational and quite sort of upbeat. And at the same time, you've got the Matthew Rhys character who's new in town, and he's from like a rich family. And he's also got demons in his past because he was accused of killing his previous wife. And it was put down to a suicide, but it was never confirmed. And there was kind of like shady sort of things to it. And so he's been very much in like the public spotlight, and so he's new in town, so he's this very abrasive sort of character who like rubs the Claire Danes character up the wrong way. But then they have a meeting, and he keeps pursuing her, and it's this thing of, well, your suggestion is just boring because people don't want that for a book. People want scandal and they want like mess and that. So why don't you write my autobiography? Why don't you interview me? And that can be your next book. And so she reluctantly agrees to this. So in the background, you've got this element of, did this guy really kill his wife? Because he's a very controversial figure, these things in common, but it's almost this idea of, is she losing the grip on reality? Like, is she being drawn in by this guy? And there's a lot of complexity to like the two characters. Like, it's a great role for Claire Danes. Like, she really gets to play a very complex and flawed character. It's a very meaty role, and like Matthew Rhys is so great. Like, he's so charismatic, and he plays kind of disturbed bad boys very well, I think. So he's really great in it. And you've got like a great supporting cast, but there's a lot going on in like the story and the background to it, because it's all about like media and representation, and like you trying to fix like your image almost, because like his father, played by Jonathan Banks, is like a big like property owner in the area, but he's also got like ties to like organized crime, and there's this whole subplot to do with like a more socialist sort of character who's kind of like running a campaign opposed, where she's like speaking out against them, and I mean, almost using the fact that the Matthew Rhys character was accused of killing his wife as part of it, but also saying, you know, they're moving in on our property, subplot where they're trying to find a way to pay her off so she'll go away and be quiet, but also, yeah, trying to negotiate that. So that's a subplot. So that's, again, it feels something where it's quite contemporary in the politics of that.
Mhm.
So yeah, you've got a mystery going on that's slowly revealed of what exactly happened, because then things develop with, as I said, the character who was the hit and run guy, the guy who was
Mhm.
drunk and run the thing over. A lot of good characters. There's a lot of good drama. It's quite, quite entertaining. You have this back and forth between these two characters. I think probably my only complaint is that they tie it up a little bit too much at the end of the series.
Mhm.
And it might have been because it's like, okay, this is a limited series. Like maybe we just want to make sure there's a neat and tight thing. But
Mhm.
I think maybe they went a little bit too far with that. Like
Aw.
some decisions at the end where maybe just a little bit of like this thing is left open could have went maybe a long way. But yeah, no, it's a really engrossing series throughout, and it's got like really good pacing.
Mhm.
Like, it's sort of this thing of like, it doesn't feel like a streaming show which is like plodding and taking its time too much. Like it feels like you can easily binge it. And also good use of flashbacks, because a lot of modern TV like this uses flashbacks, and you almost get episodes where you'll get a certain amount in, and then, because I think the second to last episode is pretty much all flashback, and that's where they reveal like what exactly happened.
Mhm.
But I think this show uses flashbacks much better than a lot of shows do. There's also a random scene which is pretty funny, but there's a scene where like the rich people have a safari themed like party at like their mansion.
Oh gosh.
And yeah, they've actually like rented like animals and things, and it's playing like the theme from like the from the Lion King,
Mhm.
and so it's just this thing of this is some of the wacky shit rich people get up to.
Yeah, it written down. Oh no, yeah, that's good to tell people. Wednesday's on Netflix too. Sorry, I forgot to mention that.
Mm-hmm.
And Alice in Borderland. Actually, everything except one thing on my TV shows is on Netflix. So it was a good year for Netflix.
Yeah, seems like it. Yeah. Oh yeah, you want me to do another?
Yeah,
and
go ahead
then
and
we'll
do
Okay.
second one.
All right. Well, this one's on HBO, not Netflix. But so this one is the third season of The White Lotus. So
Okay.
yeah, this is a show I've liked from the start, but like I think it had this thing where originally it was going to be a limited series, and then the first series did so well and it got like award nominations, and so it became popular and they were like, no, let's do more. So I think because they sort of maybe rushed out season 2, like maybe it felt like season 2 wasn't as good. Like I think I've watched a little bit of season 2 with my mum, and I think it gets better on a rewatch, but like it was one of those things where maybe they weren't quite prepared for, we're going to have to do a second season. But now that a few years has passed, they've had a bit more time to think about maybe what they're going to do with season 3, and they've just turned it into this anthology style gimmick where each season is set at a different location, but it's the same branch of hotels, the White Lotus, which I think might be a real hotel, but it's a different branch in. So the second season was in Rome, the first season was in Hawaii, and this season it's set in Thailand. So very sort of picturesque sort of location, and you just have like this cast of characters, and there's a mystery every time. So this one opens with someone being shot on the resort, but you don't know who it is, and so you've got all these different characters. So throughout they're playing with, this person might have a reason to shoot someone, or this person could be a potential victim, and you follow the different characters. And once again, it's an insane cast of like characters. So like Jason Isaacs is in there. You've got Yeah, Parker Posey, who I always love, she's in there. She steals some of the best lines. Walter Goggins, he's in it. So you've got kind of up and coming like people, like one of the actresses really made her name in the show this year, and now she's Amy Lou something or other, but she became a real like breakout from the show and has had other parts. But I think it's a little bit of a Marmite show because it's a little bit like it's a satire on what rich people get up to on their holidays and like kind of some of the like underlining issues that they have to do with like kind of sexuality and things like that. And I think it's one of those where you either go with it and you just enjoy the characters and the satire, or you don't. Like you'll just find these people impossible. But I think it is so sharply written and just so well acted and beautifully filmed. And there's this whole intrigue and the way the characters bounce off each other. And I think it's definitely cringed really well. Arnie's son in Patrick Schwarzenegger, he's in the new season, and yeah, he has quite an interesting storyline with like his brother and his sister, because one of the subplots is that the sister is interested in studying in Thailand, like taking a year abroad, but also that she's really interested in like the religion of the country, and you know, which kind of goes against what she was brought up with, having like sex in Thailand, but you're never sure if you're going to get some nuts in there or something. It's like,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's that sort of thing. Like, but it is very funny. And there's a really great cameo by Sam Rockwell this season as well, who I didn't even know was in the cast, and he pops up in this one episode, and he has this very memorable scene, which you can find on YouTube, a return to form, I think, for that show. It was so sort of witty and funny and great characters in it, and it felt like a return to form. And yeah, very, for a niche sort of audience, I think it really like pulls you in. So
okay. Yeah, I watched the first season. I thought it was pretty good. I really liked Jennifer Coolidge. I'm thinking of her character on Two Broke Girls.
yeah.
I really like Jennifer Coolidge's character in the first season. I agree, a lot of the characters are very obnoxious, but it is interesting. And yeah, I didn't watch the second season because I didn't hear good things, but I think I might just go ahead and watch the third one based on your comments. It sounds interesting, so...
Yeah, because there's also that thing where, although most of the characters are different, there is connective sort of tissue. Like, obviously, because Jennifer Coolidge returned for season 2, and there's a link to her plot in this season as well. So they do keep that alive a little bit, even though it's pretty much new characters.
My number one best show. And I was very surprised because I was not a huge fan of New Blood, but my number one show was Dexter Resurrection. I just hoped for something better than New Blood. That was all I wanted. I didn't hate New Blood like some people did, and I do think the rewatch was better. I rewatched the whole show in preparation for this.
Okay.
And I had a feeling, I was like, this is probably going to be more disappointment. But I was like, the only thing is I'm pretty sure they won't kill him off because they just brought him back. Because he has like a near-death experience in New Blood, and they bring him back for this one. And I was like, I don't think they'll kill him off again. So at least there's that. But this is one of my favorite seasons of the show, period. Like, and I'm a pretty hardcore fan. I like almost all the seasons to some degree, except maybe the 6th one. That one's a little bit rough to rewatch. But maybe I was just tired of, because I binged the whole freaking show in a couple months. Maybe at that point I was just getting a little fatigued. But yeah, I'm a hardcore fan, and I thought this was one of the best seasons. And it kind of reminds me of like the earlier seasons whenever Dexter would pick off like someone in every episode. Especially in the first season, he does that. He really goes through them pretty quick. And this is similar. In this season, Dexter comes back from the dead. He tries to bond with his son, Harrison. and he also is trying to help Harrison cover up something bad that he did. And anyways, and while doing this, Dexter also stumbles upon a club of serial killers, basically, and he pretends to be someone else. He uses an alias and pretends to be one of the people he just killed, or one of the serial killers he just killed. And he starts picking off the serial killers in the group one by one. So very fun season. It's got a lot of comedy in it. It's definitely more lighthearted like the earlier seasons were. And it's just a really fun time. And then Harry's back too, as like the voice in Dexter's head. I know Deborah was kind of an interesting choice for New Blood, but I'm really glad they brought Harry back. I think that it works. It feels more like the show. And it feels like the show back in like the heyday, for me at least. But I know a lot of other fans really enjoyed this season too. So yeah, I really liked it, and they're going to be doing another season, so I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, that's great. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was going to say one more thing. Also, the serial killers, it's like a really good cast too for like the serial killers. It's got Neil Patrick Harris, Kristen Ritter, who played Jane on Breaking Bad. I can't remember his name, but he plays one of the dads on Modern Family, one of the gay dads.
Okay.
It's not coming to me. But and then David Dastmalchian, who plays the Gemini killer, that's a really interesting storyline. I'll just leave it that way. Okay. So really, really like, and then Peter Dinklage is in it as well.
Yeah,
and Uma Thurman plays like the henchman. So great cast this season, like absolutely fantastic cast. Yeah, that helped as well in really making it an entertaining season.
I've watched some of it. I've not watched all of it yet. I was slowly doing it, so I'll go back and finish
it. Just binge it.
Well, I'm a bit more on the fence about it with you, but I think it just became difficult because when you're doing stuff week to week for a YouTube channel, it becomes hard. And then if you get behind, it becomes harder to catch up because you're doing other stuff. But yeah, I'll go back. I mean, it's all there. And yeah, I think as someone who's not as invested, I would probably say it's better than expected for me so far. Like, there's definitely positives to it. Definitely do some videos talking about Dexter in the future because, like you, I've got quite a long history with the show, and I remember watching the original show when it first aired, and yeah, lots of ups and downs. So I think we'll definitely talk some Dexter at some point on here, without doubt. Okay, so my number one is I'm jumping back to Netflix now, and it's for a show called Department Q, which is a British crime series. Yeah, it originally has Scandi origins, and I think there was like an original Danish show or something. Read a story about how they were scouting locations, and it's in Edinburgh basically, and like the scouting director just loved the location so much they chose to make it set in Britain. But it's a really great mystery. It's a really great dark comedy. So you've got a character played by Matthew Good, a detective. So there was a shooting involving like his regular partner and also another cop at this house. So the other cop was killed and his partner was like disabled, so he's now crippled and in hospital. And Matthew Good's character was badly injured as well. So it's like all these months later, after the fallout, he comes back to work and they assign him to this department, the Department Q of the title. So he's stuck down in the basement. And so it has a little bit of an X-Files vibe where it's like, it's to do with cold cases in this case, but he's been assigned this, and it's almost this idea of he's been relegated to the basement because no one really wants to face him upstairs to gate cold cases. But he's a very frosty, sort of outspoken figure who's like doesn't really socialize very well. He does have a son, but he's like separated from the mother, so you get a little bit about their relationship. But there's one mystery which runs throughout the first season. And they do this really clever thing in the first episode where you see the two plots running side by side, but then there's a little twist reveals that it was actually the other plot is in the past, and the other plot becomes the main focus for the season, like the crime that they're investigating to do with this missing person. Him still having trauma from the incident in the past. He still visits like his friend in hospital, and he gets involved in the case, like he helps him from like his hospital bed. And one of the things I like about it is it's almost like this thing for people who are like seen as outcasts, people who are relegated to like the basement or relegated to like dark rooms, who society don't want to deal with, because like there's other characters who eventually join in his team, and like they slowly become his allies, and it's almost like they're quite nerdy and sort of outcasts as well. So it's got a really good black humor, and that's something I always enjoy, is a good dark sense of humor. It's very nihilistic, but really well written characters, and you've got a really good slow burn mystery to it. Like the case is very satisfying. You get good use of flashbacks. But yeah, it's quite broad when you see what it actually is. Like there's a little bit where there's a sci-fi element to it. A lot of times now, like you don't get really good satisfying mysteries, and you know, I think almost the art of a good twist has been lost. But I think this knows how to do twists and knows where the twist should come, and it does them really well and proper, and it's very gripping towards the end as it's really amping up, and it kind of has the perfect ending as well, because with it being a modern streaming show, they probably weren't sure if they're going to be brought back. So it sort of has one of those endings where it ties up the main case, but then there's just a little door open if they wanted to do something else. But then it wouldn't really matter if they didn't, if they never returned. So it's that kind of thing. It's like the perfect way to end it. And
that's a smart ending nowadays, because a lot of shows get canceled, and then they're, you know, if you end it on a cliffhanger or you leave something big unresolved, it just, you know, it doesn't, the rewatch isn't good, you know, and I have trouble recommending it to people whenever there's like this big cliffhanger, you know, so that's good.
Yeah, it definitely works both ways, and the good news is it has been renewed, so we are getting a season 2. So there's enough buzz about it, and they've sort of got a ready-made case now for season 2 because of what was hinted at the end there. And yeah, it's a really good part for Matthew Good, because you know I think he is quite a good underrated actor, but he's really good in like the lead role. So. Yeah, it's one of those little gems that came out this year, and it just stands out a bit because you don't really get a lot of good, satisfying modern mystery shows, and I think this was one of them. And the fact that it was giving me a little bit of X-Files vibes as well, because of this specialized department in the basement as well. It was just itching a lot of my sort of buttons really on that. It was. So much of it was ticking boxes for me. So, yeah, really good show. And that's on Netflix as well. So, Department Q.
Yeah, I think you've recommended that before. I definitely need to check that out, especially now I know it's your number one. So,
yeah,
it's definitely highly recommended. So, yeah, I'll definitely check that out. Sounds good.
Yeah, I think I wanted to give that number one because I think when something is a first season and it's so good, I think that's a little harder than maybe a show where it's got a bit of history and also it's just that thing of it is something new and good. So that makes a difference. A few honourable mentions that I'll just throw out. There's an ITV show called Code of Silence, and that's basically the setup is then you get a mute girl who ends up becoming part of a police investigation. So they use her to lip read, basically. But the whole thing is then she gets involved with one of the criminals. Like, she becomes romantically attached by him, so she starts getting too close. And that's what the setup for the show is. So you see her kind of communicating, and you see like kind of things from her point of view, like as a mute person, and her reactions to things, and how things become compromised for her because she gets too close to this guy who's involved in the thing. But then he's not like a completely bad guy, so he's not like, it's not a black and white sort of thing. But that was good. That was like, the gimmick of it was well done, and yeah, no, it's quite a nice little drama, and you follow the characters through, and it wasn't really anything amazing, but the acting was good and it was quite well done. You know, had a little twist on the premise there, so that was a nice little show, I think, like quite well done. I also enjoyed Yellow Jackets season 3. Like, I know a lot of people have been down on this season, but like I actually really enjoyed it, especially the second half of the season. I think it really kicked into high gear. And I know they're now setting up for what is going to be the last season, which is coming out next year. A lot of people seem to be mixed or left cold. I mean, there was definitely decisions they made which I have to question during the season. But I think it's one of those shows where it's still worth going for the ride with the characters, and they do some really interesting things, and you've got a great cast. Like, obviously Hilary Swank was a guest star this season, so that was really exciting. And I think in the back half of the season it really picked up pace, and there was a lot of things where, okay, this is the show at its best. There's an episode where it's like a trial episode, so it's like a trial out in the wilderness, and I really enjoyed that because they were putting like the Coach Ben character on trial because they suspected him of something, but it was this whole thing where they had to kind of make sure it was impartial, and the whole deal was a lot of the girls were like biased against him almost. And so the Jackie character, who's Sophie Thatcher, she had to play like the judge, and like at the start of the season she was the leader of the camp. That does change over the season, but that I thought that was a really good episode. A lot of people shit on it online, that episode. I really liked it. People have criticized it for like unnecessary character deaths, and I think that was one this season in the adult timeline where it was like, yeah, that just felt out of the blue. It felt like there was more you could have done with that character, and yeah, it just felt like maybe they did it for a bit of a mystery, because that became a mystery of what exactly happened to her. But anyway, overall, I did like the season. Like, I think the back half of the season, especially second season of The Last of Us, of course.
Oh,
Came out.
Strongly disagree.
Okay.
Yeah, that was actually on my worst list.
Oh dear. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't. Well, because we hadn't spoke about it, I didn't know if you'd seen it or not.
I saw 4 episodes and then I stopped watching. But I didn't just stop watching because I lost interest or drifted away. I rage quit.
Okay.
But go ahead. Don't let my opinion salt. You go ahead and say what you're going to say.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I mean, obviously my perspective is different because I've never played the games, and
well, I haven't either.
Okay. No,
go ahead.
Well, I mean, I don't want to get sidetracked too much, because obviously there's this group on the internet who hated the games from the start. And so I think that same group were always going to hate the series, like the second season. Moments where it meandered a little bit. I mean, obviously the big death early in the season, that was always going to leave a bit of a bit of a hole. And I'm guessing that's where some of the problems come in for you. But it's one of those. I mean, it's in the game, and I mean, I don't know what. And I think they handled the death very well, and I do like the addition, the character they brought in this season, who became like the love interest for Ellie. I think they had good chemistry. And I think maybe season 3 might turn out to be better because that's going to be focused on the Abby character played by Caitlin Denver. I don't know why people are complaining about her casting because I think she's great for that role, but I think she's a really great actress. So I don't know. I mean, maybe for some people that season might turn out to be better because she's going to become the main focus. A little bit uneven at times. So I think I'm putting it in that area where I would say I'm mostly positive, but I think on a rewatch it could decide whether I'm that positive or I go a bit the other way. And definitely weaknesses, but there were beautiful moments and episodes also. You know, like the Joel flashback episode was very good.
People that hated the game that would have hated the show anyways, but I did read because I was curious, like, did the game pull the same move that the show did? And the game handled it way differently. I think if they had closely adapted the game like they did with the first season, then, well, they closely adapted the important parts of the first season, or of the first game.
Yeah.
Then I probably would have liked it, even though I didn't like the character death. But because they did it so early in the season and the way they did it before. It's really hard to explain without spoilers, but like there's a big confrontation that you're expecting based on the way the first season ends. Like that's like the whole reason I wanted to watch the second season was to see this confrontation happen. And now that one of those characters is dead, that confrontation is never going to happen. Whereas in the games, that confrontation does happen and it actually gets dragged out for a while. And, you know, there's several other scenes that happen after that before the character death. So I don't know if I would like the game or not, or the way the storyline goes, but I at least think it makes sense just from a storytelling perspective that like when you set up a conflict like that it has to have a resolution. And in this case, I'm like, that because this is not a supernatural show where people talk to the dead, there's not going to be that resolution. So I'm just like,
okay.
I just, it lost me just from a storytelling perspective. I was like, I can't. And then I tried to watch it for another episode, but it dragged so much after that. Like the whole episode was just like getting ready to go on a journey. And I was like, I think I'm done. I think I'm just done, which makes me so sad because I loved the first season so much. It was probably my favorite show that came out that year. But yeah, this one, I don't know why they deviated so much from the games. They had a blueprint for how to tell a really good story, and they took the thing that made people angry about the game, and they blew it up, made it even worse. So, yeah. I will say, though, that the second episode where there was an invasion on the town, that part was cool. Like the zombies... fungus zombies invading the town. So I mean, to find something good with it, that was a really cool scene. It was very intense. But I just, yeah, like I said, that just really ruined it for me. My mom and I both quit. I was like, I'm done. I'm done with this show.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I'm not.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I do remember you saying then that was something you were anticipating in.
Yeah.
But actually, to be fair, I was going to jump in, and this might be because you haven't seen the rest of the season, but they do in the flashback episode, they do address some of what you're talking about. Okay. So they do actually have the confrontation you're talking about.
Okay.
And maybe it's just the fact of it's quite a short TV series, so maybe they felt like they had to have the death quite early because then that sets up what the rest of the season's going to be. And then they do the other bit in flashback later on. So
I might check out the flashback episode then, because that's the whole reason people tuned in for season 2, because they left this huge cliffhanger. So yeah, okay. Well, it's good to know that they did it that way. I was wondering if there was like, I guess that's not ever going to be addressed, but it's good to know they at least did that. Not how I would have chosen to do it as a writer, because it just feels like I thought that it's like, well, I guess they're just not going to do anything with that. It's good to know that they at least did it in a flashback, even though I don't understand why they would. Like you said, a lot of shows don't use flashbacks the way they should. I don't think that's a good use of flashback. I think they should have just told it chronologically. But
I think in this case, I think the flashback, because I mean the flashback episode is very strong for a lot of reasons. So I think maybe in this sense, the flashback gives you context. For and it's almost as much about how it impacts on the Ellie character and how it impacts on her moving forward as well. So
okay, all right, I will give that episode a shot. I'm not probably going to watch the whole season, but I'll give it a chance.
It's only 7 episodes.
I know, and I already watched 4 of them, but it's just like I just don't want to give them any more of my life.
Okay.
But thank you for telling me, though. That makes me feel better, at least, that they didn't just completely gloss over that. So, yeah.
Yeah, no,
I'll check it out.
That's no worries. Yeah. Okay. No, it's interesting. I know there's been a lot of polarized opinions online, and no, that's fair, because that's a different perspective than I was coming from. Like, I definitely came in and thought, okay, it's not as good as season 1, but then that was a pretty high mark anyway.
Yeah.
And I thought they did quite well overall with the second season. And yeah, it's maybe possible then season 3 will be better because you've got that new focus of the Abby character. And in my horror stuff, surely the movie of the year is Popeye the Slayer Man, which I watched recently.
Oh my god!
How did I forget about that one?
That is insane. Oh my god.
Yeah, I love the title. But when they go into like this whole backstory and it's like about radioactive spinach, basically. And
this sounds like a gem. Oh my god.
Yeah, they just crowbar in all this backstory at the end for what happens, and
oh my gosh,
it's pretty funny. Yeah,
they need to do a crossover with like the Mickey Mouse Trap, the Steamboat Mickey that's now in the public domain, and Popeye. They need to be in a story together since they're both public domain cartoon characters.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's and the funny thing is, there's already a sequel to that one. So they released 2 movies on it this year. So the second one's just called Popeye's Revenge.
Oh
so,
yeah. Oh,
so
what funny. A time to be alive.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Well, that's the only way to end this video.
Yeah.
We've gone on so long, but we've given you lots of ideas for stuff to watch this year and maybe not to watch. And you can chip in with some thoughts on who you agree with on certain things. But we agreed on a lot of stuff. We agreed on more than we disagreed. So that's fair.
Absolutely. So, and I have a list of a lot of shows to check out now. So, especially Department Q, I'm very excited to check that out. So,
yeah, definitely do that. Okay, so do let us know what some of your favorite films and TV shows are of the year, and some of your least favorites. And I will say Madison has just released her video, so her favorite and least favorite horror movies of the year. So go and check that out. Go and check out Madison's channel. I'll put the link in the description as always. And because I am putting this out quite close to Christmas, I suppose the only thing to say is Happy Christmas, everyone. We'll wish you a merry, happy Christmas, and we'll wish you the best for 2026. And also let us know some of the things you're looking forward to next year as well in the comments. Like and subscribe as always. Hit the hype button to hype me out to more eyes. You can support me at patreon.com/boardnow or as a channel member. So thanks everyone. We hope you have a great holiday and a great new year. And we'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye everyone.
Bye.